very dangerous people from Iran. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. We said, go and do your funeral stuff. And instead of that, they start shooting rockets at ships yesterday. And so we hit them very hard last night, very hard. I would say 20-1, 20 times tougher. And I told them every time you hit, we hit. And of course, they're dirty players, so they go after everyone, probably including me. I've been number one on their list for years. And they're a bunch of scum, you want to know the truth. They're scum. And so we don't like them. I don't like them. And they're evil people, and it's the denuclearization of Iran. And we're going to denuke it. We're not going to let them because they're crazy, and they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they go around killing people. They've killed thousands and thousands of our soldiers. They've killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people. They had the roadside bomb, Soleimani. I took care of him first term. And that was a big thing because I think they probably would be a lot stronger had he been around because he was a bad guy, but he was an evil genius, but a bad guy. And he was the father of the roadside bomb. The roadside bomb is a bomb that goes on when you're driving your little vehicle around, and it goes on and you have no legs, no arms, and no face. And they've killed thousands and thousands of people. Even the SS Cole was theirs. If you remember that disaster.
Yeah, there we have the president of the United States. A couple days ago, we've been attacking Iran. Iran is trying to figure out what to do next. And here we are back at it again. And sometimes, the great disruptor has to disrupt. Sometimes the president just has to roll. And the Iranians decided to play the game that they thought. The Iranians decided to play the game that they've played so many times with every world leader. And you don't think that the president decided that he talked to the Arab states. And remember, he told the Arab states, and that was the deal, we're going to give them an outrageous deal that they cannot, in their right minds, walk away from. But if they do, then you need to back us on this. You can't play the double-sided game. You can't play the this, that, and the other. You have to be with us. So we will see whether our Arab friends are going to be with us, much like NATO. NATO was with us until we needed them. And we pay a lot for NATO, which is just amazing. Here's the latest on the U.S. strikes.
U.S. Central Command confirms a second consecutive wave of strikes targeting military infrastructure in southern Iran, also coastal Iran. These strikes have been described as more aggressive than the initial wave that we saw earlier this week, sparked by attacks on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has responded by targeting neighboring nations, including Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar. Now, Iran taking up much of the talk in Turkey, where President Trump just was for the NATO summit. There he said the fragile ceasefire deal signed last month is over.
Yeah, they haven't really given us a choice, and they've really decided that they're going to play tough guy. Now, how deep do they go? We can go deeper, and that's where the media, that's where the liberaloons, that's where everybody else has to determine what they want to do. Do they want to live in a world where the mullahs run wild, where the mullahs run free, where the mullahs can kill at any time? And nothing more brings that home to us at 580-5436, 580-KIDO than what we saw with Air Force One. Now, I don't know if maybe you had a life. Maybe you decided to go get a snow cone last night. Maybe you decided to walk the dog. Maybe you decided to work out. Maybe you decided to read a book. But the big story last night was the president leaving Turkey. He took the old Air Force One to England, and then he got on the new Air Force One. But and it's interesting, the New York Times broke this story last night, and you're going, Kevin Miller, you silly little loon, why are you watching or reading the New York Times? Well, people like to leak to the Times, people like to leak to the Post, to the Wall Street Journal. Some people like to leak to the Statesman, I guess. Anyway, regardless of that, you forget that Iran is only, Tehran or Iran is only 1,000 miles from where the president was. Now, the president wasn't in Istanbul, but he was close. He was in Ankara. And who's to say? Drones, missiles, they take out the president in the Qatari plane, and then you could have the conspiracy people saying, well, Qatar wrongly accusing the government of Qatar of colluding with Iran to take down the president. So the president got an old Air Force One. I'm sure there were visible, credible threats. And thankfully, the Secret Service, because this president they've tried to kill him, the Iranians, how many times? Americans, at least twice. And so he flies to England, gets in that. And I love what he was talking about yesterday when he goes, well, I'm on top of the hit list. And they go, well, why did you want us to close the windows? Well, because bad people wanted to take us down. And, by the way, if they get me, they're getting you. They're not going to give you a break because you're Sally Smothers. They're not going to give you a break because you're a journalist. They're not going to give you a break for any of these things. Not at all. And it's so funny. They just can't bring themselves to this. They just can't bring themselves to saying that the Iranians are bad people. That's the wildness of it all. And it was great yesterday. It was like old home day because our friend Steve Yates, and it was funny because years ago, and this is how I know Steve Yates, the old chairman of the Idaho Republican Party, but our relationship goes deeper than that. He came back to Idaho, having worked in the Bush administration, was campaigning. Who was he campaigning for, Sweet William? Was that Newt Gingrich when Newt Gingrich was running for president? Was it Gingrich? No, it wasn't Gingrich. Rick Santorum? No. I know it was one of those strange, bizarro things. Like, where was Mr. Walling at? Oh, he was in Sacramento and he ran into John Fetterman. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. You're on a plane, you're on a bus, and you run into people. If you go to Washington, D.C., and you're on a certain flight, I don't know if it's the same flight. It's the same flight that our congressional delegation takes. And if they're listening right now, maybe they're smiling. And you'll see Russ Fulcher. You'll see, at the time, Raul Labrador, Jim Risch, Mike Crapo, Mike Simpson. I can remember I was in the back. I was in the back with the commoners coming back from D.C. So anyway, Steve Yates and J.D. Hayworth. And if you remember the name J.D. Hayworth, you remember a lot about politics. J.D. Hayworth was this firebrand congressman that hosted Crossfire, that was a talk show host. Our old friend Jason Wilmot hired him in Phoenix. He was on his way, and then he was not. And he does fill-in work. Great guy. Love J.D. So somehow they showed up in Idaho, nobody giving them the time of day. I did that. So J.D. is hanging out with Steve Yates. We go to the Ram. We develop a friendship. Mr. Yates runs for chairman of the Republican Party. We have him on all the time. He runs for lieutenant governor. Doesn't buy radio. Buys digital, smigital, incredible mailers. I love Steve Yates. If he bought radio, he'd still be the lieutenant governor of the state. And what is that song? Unanswered Prayers. It doesn't work out for him. Goes back to D.C. because of his background in Taiwan. He's a national security expert, bar none. And I can remember him years ago going, well, I know Buck Sexton. I go, oh, the guy with the Blaze. Yeah, he goes, Buck and I go way back. And then when Buck and Clay and Buck came on, he talked about Buck and, how Buck is like loves the West and all these things. And now, as we discussed, what was it? A few weeks ago, he does the podcast. What is it? Nation States with Yates. Yesterday on the program, they were calling him General Yates and everything else about invading Karg Island. And if you missed Clay and Buck, we're always, always, always privileged to have Clay and Buck, the heirs to Rush, Sean Hannity, the man, Lars Larson, the king, Glenn Beck. Mr. Beck can't be described. And, of course, George overnight. Anyway, let's take a listen to our friend, Mr. Yates.
And if you disagree, by
the way, this is Buck on what would Steve Yates do to invade Karg Island. Karg
means, Steve, let us know that Trump is going to blow up their desalination plants and blow up all their power plants. I don't think he's going to do that. Karg Island, though, to me, that I put in the more of the realm of the possible. Do you assess that similarly? And if we were to do the Karg Island operation, what would that look like? And could we pull it off?
Well, we always could have pulled it off. It was a little bit of a mystery to me why that wasn't early in the mix. There probably was a reason that it was just beyond my line of sight. I see it identically. I don't think he wants to nuke essentially the civil infrastructure of the country. That creates a whole range of uncertainties that could be problems for our allies, could be problems for us. And so I think he wants to try to focus on degrading the militancy. And I think we can do a lot of that by doing what they've been doing along the coasts. They can hit deeply into the military decision-making process. They've hit the manufacturing. The Karg Island part should be the game over point because that is what allows the regime to fund and survive.
Our man, Steve Yates, 580-5436-580-KIDO. And then Clay got in. They had a little technical difficulties. We don't know anything about that here at 580-KIDO. So if Clay and Buck can have technical difficulties, so can we. However, let's move on to the next episode, if you will, when we're talking about the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
Trump says, Steve, that he can no longer trust in any way Iran. What happens now? What is the next step so far as you can see it?
Well, Clay, I mean, really, for a lot of us that have deep experience in this, we're not surprised at the president arriving at this point, but can sort of forgive him for having been impeached multiple times and butchered by the establishment, that he wants to experience some of these things for himself. When he's asked why he said that the negotiations were going well before and why they're so bad now, he says, because I got to know them. And I think he did. And so I think he's arrived at the correct judgment. We had lifted some of the economic pressure temporarily. The Treasury Department put that back on yesterday. The president made clear we're hitting them last night and tonight. And so I think we're back to basics. The main question is, how much further can we degrade the IRGC? That is the Revolutionary Guard. That's the most radical element that has military capability. And he's trying to beat them down into a place where we can maybe get some kind of a management routine.
Yeah. Very, very good point by Steve Yates there. Very good point. And like I said, you never know who's going to be on those shows at 580-5436-580-KIDO. Our friend Steve Yates from yesterday's Clay and the Buck. Remember, they're on today at 10 at 580-5436-580-KIDO, otherwise known as KIDO. So President Trump on the plane on the way home, and okay, so he called it the Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay, he did this. Have you ever worked too much? Have you ever just worked too much and you just said, we're going to do this, that, and the other. We're going to, you just keep rolling. You just keep rolling no matter what. And that's what the president does, and you're not going to be able to tell him to stop. So, again, yesterday, here we have the media. Well, why did we close the windows? Why are we all on the old Air Force One? Because the bad people are trying to kill us. You know the bad people, the Iranians?
Do you know why they had us close our window blinds? That was not usual.
Well, yeah, because you're probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleazebags that we have to deal with.
So you think that Iran was possibly thinking of trying
Well, I mean, if they asked you to close your windows, probably they feel that way. They didn't ask me to close mine, but if they did, I would have done it. No, these are sick people. So I could see something like that.
I still like it. If they're coming to get me, they're coming to get you. And if they're coming to get you, it means they're very bad people. So why in the world are we doing these crazy things? Oh, speaking of crazy, you can send your thank you cards to Amy Coney Barrett, because now the president on Truth Social is saying signs and billboards are being put up all over the southern border and Mexico advertising birthright citizenship with delivery starting at $4,000. Likewise, signs are going up all over the country. Billions of dollars will be lost on this. He's right about that. He is totally right about it. The president of the United States. And we are right to be with you. Do want to thank our friends at Peak Health Idaho, Dr. Eric Lyle, when we're talking about health, when we're talking about fitness, when we're talking about being preventative, when it comes to cancer, when it comes to heart disease, when it comes to so many things. Dr. Eric Lau, I'm working with him. And, you say, well, Kevin Miller, you've lost a lot of weight. I have. And I've started working with the protocol with Dr. Lau. We've done the cardiovascular testing, the early cancer screening. He does have hormone optimization. Now, I've lost 128 pounds without any type of drugs because I want to do it a certain way, and I have a lot of time to do it. They have a personalized weight loss plan, comprehensive biomarker analysis. As I've said about this to other people, Dr. Peter Attia, before he blew himself up, has been an expert in this. VO2 max, IV therapies for improved recovery, nutritional optimization, which I'm very excited to do because my nutrition has been on YouTube. And sometimes, whether you're 28, 48, or 58 like me, or even older, you have to tell yourself that you're not 28 or 18 anymore, which happened to me the other day. And I'm like, man, dude. But doing it, we talk about the long game, longevity. That's what it's about at Peak Health Idaho. And I will tell you, when you go to the facility, it's great. It's I call it the Tommy Alquist building right next to Top Golf. Very cool, comforting, very warm, and very thorough, whether it's Beverly, whether it's Sean, whether it's Dr. Lyle. Give them a call today, 683-7325, 683-7325. Book an appointment in the heart of the Treasure Valley, right there in Meridian, and go there. And, again, it's proactive wellness. And if you don't know what that means, do you want to live longer? Do you want to have a better life? Maybe you're like me and you're thinking, man, I haven't run in 20 years. I'm at the height of my obesity, my morbid obesity, and I'm still obese. I was 367 pounds, and I kept telling myself, well, if I get to 400, then I'll start. And again, as you know, I had my heart scare, and still have that every day, and I couldn't wait anymore. And so it took me 2 years to get down to the lowest that I've been in the modern era, the lowest I've ever been in Idaho in, 40 years, and that is 239. But I could keep going and maybe have some success, but I want to do it the holistic way. I wanted to share it with you. And we've already produced 2 hours worth of videos. We'll be releasing those soon. We'll be documenting the process. And people say, well, Kevin, how's this different from other programs? Because it's led by nurses and doctors. And, you want to look better, that's great. But if you want to be healthier, there's a way. We had a test. And it's funny, you take these tests and you go, oh, I don't know if we're going to find out if it's good or bad for me. It's a great starting point. And then to be totally transparent. And I'm talking with Dr. Lagos, you might want to try these B vitamins to help with this one thing that your other test didn't pick up on. So again, Peak Health Idaho, call them today, personalized healthcare, concierge service, really to not only increase your performance, but to get you, on the road to wellness. 683-7325. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Peak Health Idaho, Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. All right, it seemed good at the time. Bad Sweet William with the bad audio. Okay, let's go to Enoch or Knock Knock or hello, good morning. Welcome to 580 KIDO.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you doing?
Welcome home.
Yes, it's a great day. All right, I came here just to talk about D-Flock, Meridian, Idaho, and the flock cameras.
My man. Well, hold on. Yes. Please, bring it home.
Yes. Okay, so I have a big problem with the flock cameras in some way. So the police have already used them and abused them in over about 21 different states and counties. And the way they have misused them is literally there are 21 officers, all have pled guilty to stalking charges for using the readers to literally track and stalk their estranged wives or other family members. And they use it to look up their old ex-girlfriends and then follow them, basically. And some are minor, they just look up. But some of them, in Sedgwick, Kansas, in 2023, Police Chief Lee Nygaard, he resigned after using the flock cameras to track his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend more than 200 times over several months. And the list just goes on and on. I mean, you have Costa Mesa, Riverside County, Orange City, Florida, Shelby County, Tennessee, and all in 2024, 2025. And most of them are using the LPR database to track their ex-wives, and it looks like all of them, one has 800 times on here, that he's looked up. So, I mean, these people are, like, using it for, I think, if the wrong purposes. What do you think, Kevin?
I think that this is something that has woken up people here especially. And if it's one thing that people here like is privacy, and where is the Fourth Amendment? And these guys, everybody just put them in. There was no discussion. There was no public sound off. And God bless the people of Caldwell that said, "Hey, man, we're not down with this."
Yeah, and I'm not down with vandalism or anything like that. But I think the fact that someone did do that, it just shows the American people are fed up with it, and I'm glad they're getting fed up early before it's too late. But in some circumstances, it is too late, because what I believe is usually when government puts things in place like this, it is very difficult to get it removed. So if you don't step up like early, like I noticed, we went through Eagle, Idaho, and sorry about that. I drove through it just yesterday. We went and basically did a perimeter of the entire city, and we didn't notice one flock camera there. So I'm not sure, but I don't think Eagle has participated in it just yet.
No, I believe the flock cameras are in Meridian, Nampa, and Caldwell at this time, and I'm sure some people will let us know if they have them in Boise. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in Boise, but I don't believe that Eagle Star, Middleton have those yet.
No, I think you're safe where you're at. But no, what I would do and encourage the people all over Idaho is to at least, I don't know what you could even do, Kevin. What would you suggest?
A, organize. B, start pressuring the people at the city council, and I'm sure there's a lawyer that would take the case. Thank you very much for the call. Appreciate that. And thank you. We'll be very happy to have this discussion. I think it's worthwhile. Now, on the police side of this, and I love law enforcement, on the police side of this, they're going to say, look, man, this helps us catch missing kids. This helps us catch the bad guys. This helps us catch everything. This is the Patriot Act all over again. The President of the United States back home, and it ain't looking good for the Iranians. The pain has started once again, and it should. Now, a lot of people are critical of the president, saying they gave the mullahs too much money, mullah, mullah, mullah. On the other hand, let's face it, the bottom line here is these folks are bad people. These folks continue to have bad people, and just like the Democrats. By the way, Plattner finally got it. Although you have people like The View that are trying to promote him. John Fetterman had this to say with our own Laura Ingram.
I would really call Bernie Sanders to apologize for pushing this kind of predator than anyone he helped him elect. Even those Pod Save America people that pushed that dirtbag, and they dismissed those things in the New York Times article. Maybe they ought to apologize to the women that clearly they didn't believe or they dismissed that.
The one thing
good point there.
I know about Republicans, when we had a very bad candidate and found out, we didn't vote for that person.
Yeah, that's Sideways Kid's favorite guy, Kevin McCarthy, former Speaker of the House, talking about Roy Jones in Alabama.
We walked away.
For better or for worse.
Yeah. When Matt Gaetz came forward, we got rid of him.
Yeah.
The audience is hysterical laughing.
And there we have it. What a great intro to Al in Ontario at 580 KIDO. Hello, Al.
Good morning, flock cameras, Kevin. So what? Who cares, bro? Who cares? Man, we got college students now. I just read an article. 10-15% of them, they're reading below a 10-year-old level. I didn't say 10th grade, Kevin. I said 10 years old. So what? Who cares, baby? Nobody cares. Guess what? A nation that can't think is not a nation. I just made that one up. I don't know. Somebody, I'm sure, said that before. Sounds like something Jefferson would say. But we don't think anymore. Nobody knows about Jefferson, but so what? Who cares, right? Flat cameras. Why? Oh, yeah, well, somebody is following their wife. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, how about this?
I think he said ex-wife. You know, it's always important to listen if you're going to articulate and comment on the great callers of this program, sir.
Okay, well, ex-wife, wife. Okay, look, you want to get down into the minutiae.
Oh, that's right. Details don't matter to you. We're all stupid. Please go ahead.
You always lose, so you want to get down to the trivialities that don't matter because you don't have any philosophical grounding. So you have.
It undermines your credibility, sir. It undermines your credibility.
I'm destroying you. So you got to get down to the insignificant trivialities. But we'll play that game. Okay, we can play it. Okay, the reality is this. The nation is in serious trouble. Okay, our government, the ethos of our government is why we...
And here we are once again, Al with the report of we're all stupid, we can't read, the government's in trouble, and only Al can save us and his beloved, fatally flawed founder, Tommy Jefferson.
Well, I like Madison too, right?
Another loser, Madison. You know, hey Madison, what's the definition of loyalty? Oh, that's right. You traded out of my boy Hamilton for your boy Jefferson. But please go ahead, Al.
Look, flock cameras. Okay, let's just be real here. And I know you're going to say Al's an extremist, but look, the ethos of the government is that of deception. They're liars, cheaters, and thieves. Okay, now, by extension, that really goes down to the state and local law enforcement and governmental levels also, because Uncle Sugar be paying them, remember? Uncle Sugar be paying them. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to give flock cameras to a bunch of criminal types, hey, look, all right, go ahead and do it. But let me tell you something. You know, what we really ought to do is understand the nature of the problem. But we can't because so many just don't care. They don't care, so what? Okay, the reality is when I'm talking to you about the flag, when I'm talking to you about, you know, the skull and crossbones, what am I talking about? I'm talking about America, right? Because if we can't think, which we're having a heck of a darn time thinking correctly these days, right? We can't think. We don't understand how our government was formed. We don't understand what Madison, he was all about Greek political philosophy. That's what the Federalist Papers are about. That's what our government's about. That's what President Trump was talking about at Mount Rushmore when he talked about Athens, right? He was talking about, do we know how to think? And we don't. But so what? Nobody cares, right? No. You know, and so this is the problem. Hey, man, inebriation, defecation, mastication. Oh, yeah, baby, just, hey, Epicureanism. You know, unfortunately, this doesn't bode well for our nation going forward. So what we better do is start thinking a little bit more deeply about things. We need to basically, hopefully, get our education up to snuff, get our people reading again and understanding the founding documents, the concepts that are there. We're not a democracy. We're not. We have the executive branch, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. Okay, and guess what? Now we got the judiciocracy. Where did that come in? How does the judiciocracy come into this? Oh, well, guess what? Could that be like...
Here's our friend, Greg Ferrer. Poor Al. He feels sorry for you. He feels sorry for you.
Yeah, I know you do.
Greg Ferrer says, K. Millie versus Al. Kevin, you're slaughtering this guy. Why is he babbling?
Look it, bro. Yeah,
you're a babbler.
You could come up with your little silliness because you don't have anything to back it up. You don't have anything to back it up.
Just like you, that got the details of the story wrong.
I got yeah, right. Listen, the details of the story are this. Okay, the details of the story are this. Okay, the government is totally inept, okay? And they basically built a system that like you call up the IRS, for instance, 75% of what you get as counsel from the IRS is wrong. Okay, this is what we've built. Okay, we have a system now where if you pick up an eagle feather, you don't even know you're picking up an eagle's feather. Guess what? That's a felony. You just picked it up, but you have no criminal intent.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you don't understand because you can't.
No. I mean, I don't get it because it's just basically. I really don't. I mean, you go on and on and on. And what are you saying?
I'm saying why you don't want the governments to have the flock cameras, but you don't.
Oh, you're all right. So you like the flock cameras? You like Big Brother?
No, I said why they shouldn't have them. Why the government should not have them.
Well, we're lost in the minutia here, buddy.
What I'm trying to tell you is this, okay? Listen, the whole system is designed to turn you into timid animals, exactly as de Tocqueville said. But so what? Nobody cares, baby. Just be Epicurean. Just be Epicurean, baby. You know, and you know that's the way it is, unfortunately. And you know, hey, look, you know, the people don't have any spirit of resistance anymore. I mean, this poor guy who destroyed the cameras. Look, that's like what the guy Lejo was talking about yesterday. Look, man, that guy's going to jail for life because it's a political crime. Okay, I mean, this guy, they're going to throw him under the prison for going after those flock cameras. Okay, because if you're engaging in any type of political crime, now you're going after King George, baby. Now you're going after King George. So this is what we have to understand, right? And you know, the DOJ, what are they doing now? At least they're doing something good. We've got President Trump in there, and he has some good people in there. Harmeet Dillon, she says, guess what? If the state officials...
Here's one, 580-5436-580 KIDO. What, is anybody rolling with Al? Maybe we should just have a reaction to Al. What is Al saying? Now he's talking about DOJ this, Sally Smothers that. You know, Al, you're very fortunate that we're an old shoe, because in my day, I would have taken you outside the woodshed, buddy.
Let me tell you something, brother. Okay, what you need to understand is this. Life is the pool of probability and chance.
You know, hold on.
Prepared mind.
Maybe this works in the sauna with the boys, but it ain't working with us right now. Do you have anything good here?
Listen, you compartmentalize everything. You look at everything as like some monolithic.
I'm a simpleton. We're all simpletons, okay. Al. What about you? Well, I'm going to tell you about Socrates. I love Socrates. I ain't down with Aristotle. He dissed my boy Plato.
You see, here you go again. You say I'm a simpleton, and then you say I love Socrates.
I do.
And those two comments are mutually exclusive.
There's a right and a wrong, Al. Now, maybe you're a sophist. I don't know. Maybe you are.
You are. You're not you're a sophist, my friend. But you know, look. Hey, but the reality is this: you got to go back to Da Vinci, Kevin. Okay, you got to understand that everything is related to everything else. You have to learn to see. It's called dot connecting, bro. It's called dot connecting. And this is what I try and do for you. This is why I try and help you in the morning, to give you a little understanding so that, you know, you understand how it is with 10-year-olds, okay, actually going to college. These people have the mind of a 10-year-old. So
Al, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. So that was his point. I'm not saying that Al is wrong. Okay. I would love for everybody to read What It Takes. I'm looking at it right now. I've tried to read it several times. It's 2,000 pages. It's what every person in politics should read. Maybe I'll take it with me to the Oregon coast again. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll take it with me, and I will try to read it about Dick Gephardt. You know who Dick Gephardt was? Bob Dole? All these people. Brilliant book. Or maybe I'll read my book about Tucker Carlson. Or maybe I'll just stare at the ocean and go, I miss hearing Al badger me every morning at this hour. Or we have to find a way. And that's what we do every day with you. Sean Hannity today at 1-580-KIDO.
When the first New York Times article came out, I said, this reads sort of funny. What else is there? Is there something else coming out?
And there we have it. Molly Jung on Plattner. They're all moving away from the Platt. The Platt had to go.
When the first New York Times article came out, I said...
Let's go to Glenn in Nampa. 580-KIDO. Hello, Glenn.
Good morning, Kevin. Have you seen the Princess Bride movie?
My name is Martunda Dundun. I'm here to whatever. You killed my dad. You killed my this. And Andre the Giant.
Yep. Do you remember the scene where the man in black puts the poison in the wine cups with the really smart guy?
Yes.
That's you and Al every morning. That's just how I see it. I love Al. He's a smart guy. But he's got to come up with something new. Every morning now he's telling us that we're dumb, that we don't understand. I've been a plumber over 30 years. I mean, I sniffed glue for a living for 30 years. What mental capacity do you think I have? I'm just a dumb tradesman. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about life. I don't know how life works. You know, I'm just ignorant. That's what I'm hearing. And I love some of the quotes that Al comes up with. Just shut up and eat your grasshoppers. I love that. But we got to get something new. I try to pay attention to
what are you saying to Al directly here? What are you saying to him?
We know you're a smart guy, telling us that you're smart.
For the princess? Inhale this, but do not touch. I smell nothing. What you do not smell is called iocane powder. It is odorless, tasteless, dissolves instantly in liquid, and is among the more deadly poisons known to man. All right. Where is the poison? The battle of wits has begun. It ends when you decide and we both drink and find out who is right and who is dead.
We should play that. We should play that before Al every time.
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, he has good points, but it's convoluted and it takes a long time to get there.
No, I love Al today, and I love Al every day, and he gets it, but it's like, bro. But remember, Al has
a better approach than telling us we're all dumb.
He's evolved over the years. Remember, we had rapping Al, we had grasshopper Al, we've had singing Al, we've had a lot of incarnations of Al.
Yes, we have. I still prefer Al to our buddy in Tucson.
I don't know what happened to him. Maybe the ship took him up. He's like a satellite.
And he took him home.
He comes into our orbit, and then he disappears.
I'm kind of the same way, Kevin. I come in and hit now and then, and I'm gone for a while. It's just hard to get time to call in, but I'm always listening, paying attention. You know, Nampa's had those flock cameras for years, and you know, I don't know. I can see where they do some good, but I also know that's a large invasion of privacy. You know, they have the ability, if somebody wants to, they can track you all over town. All the data is there. They claim they delete it after a certain number of days, but do you believe them? I don't know. I was always taught to not trust the government. And I think the more power that we give them, the more power of surveillance and tracking and things like that, the less freedoms we're going to have, and it's going to become more dangerous to the average citizen. So,
what do you think of the Caldwell situation? What do you make of that?
You know, I see a lot of people that want to fight for freedom, I can understand the tendency to want to take out the cameras.
Well, the fact that they just voted on it, and really, with all due respect, Caldwell has been a cauldron of controversy for about the past 2 or 3 years.
Parking meters, no parking meters, accusations and things with the police department.
Lawsuits, lawsuits.
Quiet zones, the rodeo grounds, and the parking lot. Selling that for. There's a lot going on in Caldwell. It's definitely like a soap opera down there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think the less government we have, the better.
And you're going to go, who is Marsha Blackburn? Well, she's a graduate of Mississippi State University. Senator Marsha Blackburn, I had a chance to work with her when I was in Nashville as a talk show host, and she was a congresswoman. And one of those dyed-in-the-wool conservatives, another person leaving Congress. And we're seeing a lot of that, but she's not retiring. She's basically going to be the governor of Tennessee. Check out this ad, though. Would this run in Idaho?
How hard am I going to crack down on China? Well, here's a clue.
Marsha Blackburn worked with President Trump to take on communist China. As governor, Marsha will fight to protect Tennessee land from Chinese front companies, close loopholes, and hunt down every communist who tries to defy us.
It doesn't take a fortune cookie to figure it out. Here in Tennessee, we're going to stop communist China and protect Tennessee land.
By the way, let me give you the visual. And one of the mistakes I made early in my career is that I thought everything was as relative culturally as the American South. You couldn't run that in New York. You couldn't run that in the Midwest. You can run that in the Deep South. So she's at a Chinese restaurant, and she's smashing fortune cookies. One more time.
How hard am I going to crack down on China? Well, here's a clue.
Marsha Blackburn worked with President Trump to take on communist China. As governor, Marsha will fight to protect Tennessee land from Chinese front companies, close loopholes, and hunt down every communist who tries to defy us.
It doesn't take a fortune cookie to figure it out. Here in Tennessee, we're going to stop communist China and protect Tennessee land.
And then they have...
How hard am I going to...
Oh, my gosh. Thank you, Marsha. And then they have the little automated cat waving. Funny, real life, amazing. Imagine somebody doing that. Well, I don't know if you could do it. I guess you could do that about the illegals. I guess you could do that about the Chinese in Idaho. I guess you could really do that about a lot of things. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, culturally, how would you play that? By the way, on our website, some really outstanding content. And what is that? Stories that I've written. Well, and there are people that have written other stories. We have, let's see, our friend Justin Bieber, the Idahoan. You remember the Biebs? Apparently, everybody hangs out in Coeur d'Alene. He's going to be playing the halftime of the World Cup. I know all the World Cup people are very excited about that. Our state ranked third best place to move to, third year in a row. Who beat us? Find out on our website. Another one, we don't really, do sports, but we can if we have to. One conference is not having the Ode to the Media Days because apparently they want to save money. That would be the new Pac-12. Bad look for them and how it impacts Boise State. And my personal favorite, the world's richest city is only 2 hours from Boise, Idaho. I need to update that one. When Seattle not gearing up, as Idaho fans gearing for the World Cup because we lost. So where are we? We are bombing Iran, and they're not happy about it. The president says they really want to make a deal again. But as we've learned and found out about this, look, the Iranians, there are two types of Iranians. There's the Iranians that apparently the vice president met with that seem like nice, rational Iranians. And then there are the other Iranians that will sit there and say, we hate America, we're going to destroy America. And, are lobbing missiles and everything. Now, if they attack, I mean, there comes a point in every business and every conflict, in every battle, where there is no turning back. There is no turning back. And what you have to do is go all in. And when you go all in, the bottom line here is you may win, you may lose, you may do whatever you want, but you go all in. An example of that would be the surge. You remember the surge with George W. Bush? George Bush, he was going in to save Iraq. And he may lose, but he was committed. It's the old story that business people like to tell, who's more committed, when we're talking about, the chicken or the pig. Well, the chicken gives you the eggs, the pig gives you the bacon. And that's really what we're talking about with the Iranians. They keep saying they want to make deals and stuff, but, they don't want to make a deal. They've called us out. And unlike any other president that we've known at 580 KIDO, the president really is in a position where I think that he has to go. Now, oil prices going up again. I love how the world that we live in is so interesting that everybody's an expert on oil. Everybody's an expert on the stock market. Everybody's an expert, right? Everybody's an expert. Yet in reality, we're all doing the same thing. We're reacting to the same course of human events, rightly or wrongly. We're going to a point where we're going to have to make them feel the pain again and again and again. By the way, in Utah, the world continues to watch this trial going on. The world is watching what is happening in Utah with Charlie Kirk and the trial there. The end of the beginning of the preliminary phase. We'll talk a little bit about that. Yesterday, you heard Donald Trump Jr. talk about it. Yesterday, you heard how emotional he was and saying that this guy is going to be convicted. I know a lot of people are talking about conspiracy theories. A lot of people are talking about, this Tyler Robinson didn't do it. Are you kidding me? Why do we always want to throw doubt on things without any type of factual basis? And is it too difficult to believe that here we have the young bride, the young widow, Erica Kirk, who is left really without a husband, without a father, without anything? All right, let's go to our friend Blair in Boise with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. Good morning, Blair. How about Brian? Brian, good morning. You're on 580 KIDO. I apologize for missing Blair, but Blair's loss is your gain, sir.
Hey, Kevin, you brought up a subject that I wanted to tie into the cameras. Did you notice that part of the reason they're prosecuting Charlie Kirk's murderer is because of cameras? They've got footage of him going everywhere in that college campus. And may I just remind everybody, Kevin, I worked at the mall. I ran the cameras when you went in the mall. I used to watch people through that mall, and I can't count the amount of crimes I stopped or caught with cameras. And may I just remind everybody also of this: if you show up at Brian's house, smile, you're on camera. And if you break into my house, I have one strategically placed camera at my gun safe. So if you try to get my guns, smile and good luck. I mean, I worked in security, Kevin. I've worked in cybersecurity, and there's no way in this modern day and age that you can have security without cameras. So I understand there's like this country perspective that I grew up in where there was no cameras, but in the proper place and the proper time, they are critical, just like a firearm. You know, can they be used incorrectly like a firearm? Just like in Charlie's case where he was murdered by this idiot? Yes, but at the same time, they can be used to prove that case. So it's neither. they're just like everything else in this life. They're good and bad. It's just depending on the person that's using them.
Now, Brian, let me give you one back at you. I think there's a difference between cameras at the mall and cameras on the street corners. Are there?
There's cameras in my subdivision. My neighbors have them. There's a kid that went around my neighborhood breaking off the little handles for mailboxes. I caught him with my neighbor's camera. It picked it up. So I don't know. What are you worried about? Like, I'm not saying that the government never wouldn't misuse them. We got to hold them accountable. But at the same extent, again, I'm certified in cybersecurity.
I'm with you.
It's the biggest deterrent in the world other than a dog and a gun. Every security person I know out there, Kevin, says, there's only two types of people that look for cameras: criminals or people that work in cybersecurity, because they're like, does somebody got my six? So I just, like I said, you come to my house, smile. I've got a gun on my hip and I've got cameras recording you. You break into my house, you get to my gun safe, you're going to deal with the cameras and the guns. My family's allergic to dogs, or you deal with the dogs.
Yeah, but isn't that different from public roads where people haven't voted on it? That elected officials just arbitrarily decide to put them in and deal with it?
Well, I agree. It shouldn't be arbitrary, but at the same extent, Kevin, we all know that there's all kinds of vehicular violence and speeding that goes on our roads. I mean, come on. I live off of Karcher in Nampa. This road is insane. Some of the things that go on at night here, I want recorded. I mean, it's going to stop crime.
Yeah, well, has it stopped crime on Karcher? Has it stopped the crazies on Karcher? Or do they just let it run? How about this? How about we put a cruiser on Karcher and see what happens?
How about they hire me in the county or the sheriff's department and let me run the cameras like I did at the mall and see how much crime I can stop and catch? I mean, we're prosecuting Charlie Kirk's murderer because of cameras, people. You got to have proof.
So it sounds like you're in favor of the flock cameras, Brian.
Well, I'm in favor of cameras. Again, I every guy from a Navy SEAL to Special Forces that talks to you about how to secure your house will tell you need three things. You need cameras so you can see them coming. You need a dog, and you need to be well armed. So I'm an American, and I listen to security experts, and that's what I do to secure my house. So if I want to secure a road where there's people that are breaking laws and speeding and assaulting other vehicles, remember, I stopped being a prison guard because there was a guy that killed a cop by running over him 21 times and then bragged about what he wanted to do to that cop's wife and kids in prison. So that's the kind of people that are out there that you got to deal with. And if you don't have the tools to deal with them and you can't prove it, then you're going to be held liable. So I like cameras. I like when they put cameras on cops because it makes both people be liable.
Right.
Just saying.
All right, Brian. God bless you, old friend. Appreciate Brian. And by the way, sorry again not to get Blair on. Blair, hopefully he'll call back, but we always want to hear about the fires. I agree with that. We'll get cleaned next. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Remember, some great stories on our website. If you miss any portion of the program, you can get the podcast. We want to thank everybody in Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles now is showing up very, very well. Salt Lake City, no surprise there. One of our strongest cities. Tyler, Texas, Miami, Florida, Indianapolis continues to show. So thank you for listening. By the way, the President of the United States.
Brent crude is up slightly today on the announcement
that we hit them. Anytime we hit them, It goes up a little bit, $2.
Is that what you mean? Is that what you meant when you said that we might see oil prices lift a little in response
A little
to?
bit, yeah, $2, very little. It's down from, let's say, $135 down to $69. It's dropping, and everything else drops. As oil goes, so goes everything else. But anytime if we hit Iran, oil goes up a little bit.
There we have it. We'll get your reaction next. By the way, Bonnie Tyler, dead at 76. That iconic song, Total Eclipse of the Heart. God bless. Life is so short. Please appreciate those that you have while we have them. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO, is always so loyal to Kevin Miller, always so loyal to the people that have nurtured him and fostered him. And although Licho does like to stray, so we're going to see just how loyal Licho is.
That is quite the introduction there, boss. I'm on Team Al this morning. I just got to say it. There's getting the association between all these random acts right is part of figuring out what's wrong, and he's got it down pretty well, And when he's doing all those random jumps, I'm following a lot of those random jumps. I'm just saying, when you link the FBI to the source philosophy that causes the problem, that's good points to me. He's 98% of the time I can follow. I get what he's trying to say. It's the repetitiveness of, you don't understand, or you got to understand. That's like me and my ums in the middle of my talk or discussion. And dear Brian, wonderful Brian, the government needs zero cameras other than the ones it requires to keep them accountable, meaning the ones on the cops. Using these things as a warrantless search method, and you just sitting there making the whole argument that the community safety is greater than the individual right to privacy is the same garbage that they pulled out during COVID. Okay? It's fine. It's part of your right to have a camera on your place to protect your property. Okay? You are, of course, the first person responsible for your safety. However, monitoring the whole populace by robot computer is 100% a violation of privacy, due process, and to act like, because I think the cops are good, it's okay if they have them. The cops are not good. Many of them, like I talked about yesterday with Robert Jones, their whole purpose is to make examples of people who would otherwise stand up against corrupt government and corrupt law enforcement. If your daughter gets stopped or arrested 8 times by one police department and you go to the sheriff and say, hey, these guys are doing this, and they continue on and nothing gets done, it's just them protecting each other. Community safety is very low on the priority compared to individual rights and your right to protect your own safety for yourself. Thank you, Brian. You must have been really good at licking boots during COVID. I know you weren't, but you just used the same arguments to say it's okay for the government to have cameras. It is not okay. It is just not okay. That is a violation of the principles of the Constitution, period. I didn't sign up for Skynet. I'm looking.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't your boy Al make fun of us for questioning this? Didn't your beloved Al, wherever he is right now, laugh at us when we've decided to rebel? I think that, again, and you know me, you and I agree to disagree on law enforcement, But the arbitrarily bending of the knee where they just put it in and nobody got to vote on it, nobody did anything, they just accepted it is, I think, very alarming. And that might work in Orange County. I don't think that it works in the Treasure Valley.
Well, I don't think there's a need for it, an actual pressing need for it at all. Going back to that point, there's the post-constitutional society of bureaucrats. Okay, a bureaucrat decided, I want a flock camera, or some little city council, or whatever it is. You didn't vote for it, but the Constitution doesn't matter, and it's for the greater good. Everything's for the greater good. And the flock company has somebody out there selling this stuff.
Well, but
so
here's the challenge. We have all these people that run for office and say they're going to be elected. Where's the firebrand? Where's anybody to sit there and call these people up into hearings and question this? The only reason we're talking flock cameras is because we had a citizen threaten to sue Caldwell. I remember when the flock cameras went in, nobody did anything about it. I can remember when the drones came out, nobody did anything about it. I mean, isn't this the Patriot Act all over again?
Yes, it is. And it's like I said, a bureaucrat decides something, or whatever it may be, it just magically happens, and you just go and drink your beer and ride your ATVs, and they'll monitor your activity, they'll monitor your money, they'll monitor, everything you do, but it's for your safety. The HOA will monitor how you park to protect your property values. The socialism and indoctrination in this country, due to our education system, is over the top, and it's winning or won, and the Constitution doesn't apply. The judge that sentenced Robert, there's due punishment, which I think the prosecution and defense basically agreed to, and then there's cruel and unusual, and that's what you get when you fight the system. Robert was like number 2 in the People's Rights Organization. If you're going to go down and protest City Hall,
look, the bottom line here is the authorities agreed that what he did was wrong. As you've said, the judge made a decision. And besides you, and I say this with the utmost respect, where is everybody else in the people's rights? I remember the people's rights was a big thing covered by the Atlantic and all that. And Mr. Bundy's in exile in Utah. You're the only one around. And Robert's going to jail.
And I think you've demonstrated exactly what happens. We had a strong organization, and there were lots of people's rights folks there in the courtroom and following the case. But when you don't have somebody that national news wants to pick up all the time and claim he's a radical, then it's going to just completely fall out of the common dialect, basically. So yeah, they ran Ammon Bundy off. They're throwing Robert in jail.
But remember, Mr. Bundy took it to the limit. And as I have argued, and I have been made an example on, you work within the system that you have, especially here, because you can be marginalized, and you cross the wrong person, partner. This ain't home.
Well, and that's the point. You remember that we protested people who were employed by the government to take baby Cyrus. Okay,
and in the end, and in the end, how did that work out for you and everybody else?
In the end, private citizens who were being paid by the government somehow.
Okay. Hold on for a minute. Hold on. Do you have a minute here?
Let's go.
All right. I'm coming back to you in a minute. You're not going to like it. More with Lead Show and your reaction next. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's get you to traffic. Very quick break. 580-KIDO. Baby Cyrus, there were some allegations that his family wasn't keeping him healthy. He was taken by the Meridian Police Department for medical attention. The call went out to the People's Rights. They put up the bat signal. Everybody swarmed the police. Everybody protested the hospital. Baby Cyrus was released. His family fled to Florida. Mr. Bundy was left and paid the price. Did I leave anything out?
The part of the paying the price was that St. Luke's, a subcontractor to the Idaho Health and Welfare, was able to.
Now, hold on. Let's just keep the allegations out of this. I don't really need any more litigation. So, essentially, what happened? Mr. Bundy was protested. St. Luke's took him to court. Mr. Rodriguez went to Florida, and now we have your friend Robert going to jail. So in the end, without besmirching any more corporations, because I don't want to be liable at all, thankfully I've stayed out of that, and I don't want you to be libeled or targeted. So in the interest of having a conversation, you tell me, what did that accomplish? Sir.
And you just laid the premise exactly to what this conversation is. You and I are both looking at a noose if we openly discuss details. You know what I mean? And that was their purpose. Make sure you can't discuss what really happened.
Wait a minute. We've discussed this so many times. So many times, bro. And let me put it to you this way. Me personally, I've paid the price for that. There are certain people that will have nothing to do with me or this program because of conversations on this show. And that is their right. And quite frankly, to me, and you know, I never give you guys the inside, but I could sit there and say, you know, we're going to make people uncomfortable. You go back to your job. I'm out on the street, and I deal with this all the time. So when we talk about a noose, no, I would prefer to say there are guidelines. You can operate within those guidelines and be real and transparent, or you can sit there and do what Mr. Bundy and Mr. Rodriguez did. They chose another path. And I've told Mr. Bundy, I go, dude, you picked a battle that in the end, if you ask anybody objectively, you lost. Was it worth it? Did anything change?
I would just say that principles were stood up for, and they were taken down for standing up for the truth and principles, and that can't happen around here.
So if that was the case, why would you leave? Why would you flee? To Mr. Bundy's point, he didn't. He fought. He lost, although he didn't go to court.
Because when you look at what you're up against, you see the monster you're up against.
Well, then you don't kick the monster.
And then the corruption in the system. I think it was a good job of demonstrating the existence of the monster.
Yeah. Lee Joe, thank you. Lee Joe, I love you. Thank you for the call. This is where Lee Joe and I agree to disagree. And here's the deal. Maybe for us, I go back to, you know, Lee Joe and I, and it's a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege to be able to speak as openly, as freely as we have. But on the other hand, when all we do is bag on people, and I've had to learn this personally. You know, there are a lot of good people that work at a lot of places that provide medical care. You may agree with them, you may not agree with them, but that's what makes America great. We always used to criticize the left for being intolerant. Sometimes we on the right are the same way. And look, let me give you the details. So again, during the pandemic, I know we have a lot of new people that have come into the program. This place, again, was the place to be, the place to talk. We always are. And you had Ammon Bundy, who was getting, and here's the deal. You can either be successful or famous. I've been famous. I've never been successful. Mr. Bundy was famous, and he ran for governor. He did all these things. And the media loved Mr. Bundy until they didn't. And you protest outside St. Luke's. An institution has a right to protect itself. And Lee Jo and I agree to disagree. When you had a former Ada County commissioner, you had people surrounding her house. Not acceptable. You have, and look, just like you have the Antifa crowds doing this to the right-wing people, you can't do those things. And the system fought back. Now, again, Lee Jo's giving us his version of the coverage. I'm going to say allegedly. And so the Meridian Police, law enforcement, take these threats very seriously, because this wasn't the first time that somebody had gone to a police officer's house. They take those threats seriously, and they should. And so Mr. Bundy was sued in court civilly, and I think it started at like $1 million, and then instead of, and like I said, when you take on someone who's played in the NFL, they will tell you when to stop. And then it went to $10 million and $25 million, and he pled his case. It didn't work. He was on the loose. Nobody went to get him. They had a big rally in Emmett, and this state is very smart. Unlike Oregon, unlike Nevada, they're going to wait people out and de-escalate it. And they did. And then Mr. Bundy had no choice but to move to Utah. Now, unlike everybody else, I covered under Ammon Bundy in Nevada. I went there. He was the nicest person that I met there, including the guys that pulled the guns on me in that standoff. I went to Oregon, right next to his brother Ryan and Lavoy Finnegan. But there comes a point when, and I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, sometimes, and Tucker Carlson learned this the hard way, you can't be a useful idiot. We may be idiots, but we're not useful idiots. We don't allow people just to come on and da-da-da-da-da because that's irresponsible. You can do that online. You can't do that in broadcasting. And like I said, unfortunately, we lost a lot of relationships. Maybe we were going to do that anyway. It's been well documented, people accusing me of this, that, and the other. And then I have the loons on the right calling me a lib, which is because, again, we don't believe that marijuana should be legalized. We do stand on no legalization of pot in this state. We don't want that here. And I will tell you, I'm most likely the only talk show host that will say that. And I'm proud of that. Because you have to have principles. And that's why you're always welcome. So, and again, I love Lee Jo, but, in the end, you lose. Look, I can tell you how right I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But in the end, I lost. I won because I came here and discovered you, but I lost. And if you can't see that, is it really worth the legal expenses? Is it really worth all these things? Hold that thought. I'm going to talk about that. Because I've dealt with attorneys lately. Let's go to Ron Grant, who joins us now at 580 KIDO. Good morning, Ron.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Good morning, buddy. How you doing today?
Not bad. Living the dream, and you?
Living the dream and trying to stay cool.
Well, to do that, obviously, it helps to have money and to keep it safe, Ron. Let's take a look at retirement. Are all retirement plans created equal?
Absolutely not. The 4% rule that the financial planners and stockbrokers like to say that you should be able to live on. Number one, it's highly exposed to volatility, the money in that. Second thing is you have to sell assets to get income or to get something. And what if you had to sell short? Now you end up losing more money. My clients and I believe in a lifetime income that we can't outlive out of the risk and the fees of the Wall Street casino. Market goes up, we get a chance to participate in some of the upside. But if the market drops, we don't participate in any of the downside. And just because you have a pile of money in a 401k or an IRA, that's not a retirement plan. Back in 08 and 09, when the market tanked almost 50%, my clients and I got zeros. But you know what? A zero is always better than a loss, Kevin. And This is your dignity money. This is the money you worked hard for. Some of you 35, 40 years Why would you want to risk it and maybe not have a great retirement? Makes no sense.
No, I would agree with you on that. I would agree with you on that entirely. Ron, how do we get a hold of you to develop a plan?
Well, I put together an educational website, articles to read, videos to take a look at. There's even a book to download, 10 Things to Know About Retirement Income. And then you can email me from the site. That's safermoneyspecialist.com. But, let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley, about how you can have a guaranteed lifetime income that you can't outlive. Zero stock market risk. But most importantly, legacy protection for your family. That's so important. You worked hard for that. 208-660-1372.
Ron, we appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, buddy. Take care.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Thank you for joining us. Boy, what a spirited conversation. So, if you talk to attorneys, and we always have these thoughts of, what makes the sauce. And you talk to attorneys, obviously, I think I've disclosed this. The past few years, I've spent money on attorneys for a variety of reasons. And I'm sitting there talking to attorneys, and they sit there, and there's two types of attorneys. One that says, yeah, we're going to get them. Now, that'll be $10,000. And they're almost part salesman, part therapist, and obviously they know the law, or allegedly they do know the law. And you could sit there and, I've worked with some of the biggest firms in this city. I'm not saying that because I'm anybody. I'm just saying that because, you hire a good lawyer. And then you redo stuff, and the lawyer's going to give it to people, and they go, yeah, that's nice. And all of a sudden, you feel like Ned Stark right before they slaughter his men in Game of Thrones Season 1. Well, I've got the seal. It's a fraud. Oh, okay. It's all relative. My point being that you can go sue people, and you can win, and you can have a Pyrrhic victory. A Pyrrhic victory is you spend $10,000 suing someone to get $5,000, and then they defer the payment, so they pay you $5 a month. That's the underbelly of the legal system. That doesn't work in all cases. I highly recommend watching the movie A Civil Action. It's a classic with John Travolta, where we talk about doing the right thing. And it's not like I'm advocating getting rid of, not doing the right thing, but there's a cost. And when you protest certain places, there's a cost. And in the end, you have the People's Rights Group that got national media, and then all of a sudden they were called a terrorist group, this, that, and the other. They were targeted. They were. I mean, The Atlantic came in, and I believe The New Yorker and NBC News covered this, and it was great. But did it really, in the end, what did it do? Mr. Rodriguez is in Florida, probably doing very well. Mr. Bunny is in Utah. Losing everything he had in Idaho, I believe, repairing vehicles. Now, Mr. Bundy is a serial entrepreneur. He'll recover as much as you can, but you can vilify people. But if you can't take the stings, you don't kick the hornet's nest. I think that's the reality of most people. And to Lee Joe's point, who's, again, a very passionate defender of freedom, you can go Lincoln Park. In the end, it didn't matter. And there are certain things that are and aren't acceptable. Yeah, I stood for principle, and I don't have a job. I've been there. I think that's the point that we're all missing. And I believe, again, we've got this case of the woman, the mother accused of killing her kid, that said the vaccines did it because nobody wants vaccines in Idaho. We have a lot of healing to do. And I think that's where we begin. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Google or Spotify or wherever, and really enjoy the insanity, because we love to, take calls and talk about issues and so many things. Let's go to our great friend Jeff Manasso joining us from Fox News Radio. And earlier this week, we found out that Jeff loves to drive his Ford F-150. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, buddy. Good to be with you.
Good to have you with us here as we continue to roll through summer and, of course, everything else. One thing that is really getting a lot of people's attention is Mitch McConnell and his future.
Yeah, speculation continues to grow around Mitch McConnell's health. He was hospitalized June 14th. Though an EMS call made public revealed that that he was found unconscious. He may have suffered a heart attack in his D.C. home. His team has been tight-lipped in the weeks since, repeatedly sending the press their original statement, which provides little detail. Senator McConnell was hospitalized in D.C., though his staff and aides have also not publicly disclosed the exact medical facility where he's being treated, amid some reports that things are not well for the 84-year-old and longest-serving senator in U.S. history, that he may be brain dead. Republicans have pushed back on that, saying they've talked to him. He's recovering, seems to be doing well. CNN's Scott Jennings also trying to squash that rumor this week, saying he had about a 20-minute conversation on the phone with McConnell. Then McConnell called him, saying he's recovering, appears to be doing well based on that conversation. Though now Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear he's not demanding proof of life, but at the very least, he's demanding an update on Senator McConnell's health, saying in a statement in part that allowing speculation to continue in the media is not fair to the senator or to Kentuckians, and that it's his hope that this provides the senator the opportunity to share the information that he's okay, recovering in a transparent manner, direct from the source, that he wishes him a safe and speedy recovery.
Boy, you go to Mitch McConnell, and, people talk about the president and the Supreme Court, but it was Mitch McConnell that made all that happen.
100%. And, he has said that he called it, in 2016, he called it one of the most consequential things he's ever done in the Senate. And when he declared that the Senate wouldn't consider a successor following the death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia during the end of President Obama's second term, which helped change the federal judiciary for a generation. And here's where things could get interesting. Obviously, we know that McConnell's had some health issues in recent years, and he decided not to seek an eighth term. There's a Republican and Democrat in Kentucky that are running to fill his seat this fall. But if the seat becomes vacant before his term ends, under a 2024 state law enacted by Kentucky's Republican-led legislature, Beshear, the Democrat governor's power to appoint a temporary successor, that's been removed. If McConnell's seat becomes vacant prior to August 3rd, Governor Beshear is legally required to call a special election to choose a replacement. If the winner of that special election would essentially that winner would take office immediately. However, if the vacancy occurs after August 3rd, there's no mechanism under the law to hold a special election, and the Senate seat would remain entirely vacant until the newly elected senator is sworn in this coming January, 26 days between now and then. If we don't hear from the senator between now and August 3rd directly, I think that people will kind of speculate that there's some game playing happening here. But look, there are a lot of long-term and short-term consequences and implications should something happen to him.
I don't think he'll ever get the credit he deserves for Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch.
Yeah, well, he changed the nation's high court for generations because of his decision to not allow President Obama's pick to through the Senate process, and so yeah, for sure.
Well, and again, the way he just controlled the Senate, I don't think there'll ever be anybody that will ever be as good as Mitch McConnell in doing that.
Yeah, he's obviously he doesn't. He's no longer the Senate Republican leader. Right. Obviously that role is held by John Thune day to day, but he remains an influential voice, definitely in the Senate on things like defense and foreign policy. And Senate strategy. For now, the Senate continues to function under Thune, but even a single absence could complicate the passage of legislation or confirmation of nominees, depending on the attendance by the Democratic Party. But Republicans already have an issue passing multiple bills that have sailed through the House, and so without McConnell, who in later years has pushed back on some of the things that President Trump wanted to do. I don't think there's a lot of love there between the two, but nonetheless, a vacant seat creates a problem. If that's the case, we'll see when the Senate reconvenes.
Jeff Manasso, we appreciate you. Enjoy that F-150, sir.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Will do.
We go to Cowboy Calvin, who joins us now with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. Hello, Cowboy Calvin.
Well, good morning, Mr. Miller. Good morning, Americans. Kevin, I want to say that you were right about Mr. Bundy. He didn't really achieve much. There was a life loss. I followed that very closely. I used to ride down in Harney County. He had taken over the Harney County refuge by force, and it ended up a disaster. But you're right. He should have went by the system. He did. He chose not to.
You're right. Yeah.
And initially, he was out in Nevada. He came up to Oregon, took over the Federal Reserve refuge there, made a stand. A life was lost. And what did he really accomplish?
Well, it's funny. I'll be going through Burns, and it'll be the first time I've been through Burns since I was there covering that standoff. And, wow. That was something. And having, been right next to Lavoy Finicum, did you see the video where Ryan Bundy and Lavoy Finicum were in the car and they were shooting at him?
I saw it. I saw it. They could have surrendered. It got way out of control, but in the end, he lost his life, and Mr. Bundy placed all the tragedy on the FBI and the Fed. It didn't need to come to that. I had a friend that was the state representative out of Burns. He went to Bundy and said, you put down your arms, we can take you to this county line, and you're free to go. Mr. Bundy chose not to do that.
You're right. You're right. And Cowboy Calvin, you're very familiar with that territory. It's very lonely. It's very desolate, especially in the winter. Those guys were out there, surrounded. And I remember there were women there cooking and stuff, and it was like they camped in that bird sanctuary. And, you had the run to this sheriff, that sheriff, the FBI there, and you're thinking, and there's been a couple documentaries on it, but in reality, Kash Patel gave the FBI agents medals for that. I don't know if that was worthy of giving medals to shooting these people that were unarmed in this car, and then Mr. Finicum paying for it with his life.
Well, I think that was a little over the top, giving medals for those guys trying to do their job. I was in law enforcement, and there was somewhat of a compromise. You want to figure out a solution to the problem, not have it end in disaster, and that was a total disaster. But he was not all right. He had some principles he wanted to stand up for, and it was cost him dearly. Now he's escaped Utah, and I hope he's happy and successful there. But you just can't operate that way. We talk about law and justice. We gotta, as victims, we gotta work with a system, like you say.
Yeah, I that's the thing, or there's no system to work through, and then we're done.
Well, there is a system, like you say, it's costly.
It is. It is. And you have to figure out if you're willing to pay for that.
There was a gentleman here in Canyon County, Robert Valdez. He was falsely accused. It broke him financially. It was all over allocations that were falsified, but it destroyed him and his political career. He was a good man.
Yeah, I remember that case.
And I want to touch on these cameras that they have around here. Several months back, I witnessed an assistant manager being assaulted at the McDonald's. They had cameras inside McDonald's. They had at the intersection. They had cameras. They knew exactly who it was, but the law enforcement chose not to pursue that issue. And all the victim wanted was some justice.
Why didn't they pursue the issue, in your opinion?
It didn't meet their agenda. It wasn't worth pursuing. They would rather go after a motel and fight that and pay people off. They have a lot to do. So you gotta look at what priorities they have. A guy being insulted at McDonald's is not really important to them.
Well, you'd wonder what the deal is with Caldwell. A lot of controversy in Caldwell going on right now, sadly.
Well, it's getting better. It's getting better, Kevin. You know, there is some bad apples in every organization. Unfortunately, in law enforcement, that happens. I've been persecuted because I stood up for justice. I had to go out and respond by myself. And the thing was that they said, well, get on the radio and we'll get a backup. Well, the backup never comes. It's always too late.
Yeah, unfortunately. You ever been to Bend, Cowboy Calvin?
Ever been where?
To Bend, Oregon?
Yes, many times. I used to have property in Sisters, Oregon.
I've heard a lot about Sisters. You got any recommendations? I'm going to Bend soon. Never been there.
It's a wonderful place. It's changed.
I hear that's where all the rich people live.
It is. It is. Majority of the people that live there now are from out of state, so the politics is changing immensely in that area.
Well, it sounds like here.
But as far as the beauty and the nature, it's a very, very nice place to be.
Well, we appreciate that. Cowboy Calvin, anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, you mentioned about what would make your station better. We seem to be in a vortex here in Caldwell. I and many other people are not picking up your signal. So if you could work on that a little better, I think.
Well, we got more. What you're saying? We got more signal problems now.
At times, it's so bad we can't pick up your station for whatever reason, Kevin.
Really?
It leads us to a suspicion of what's really happening.
I would agree with you. I wonder. It makes me wonder how much longer I'm going to be around if they're, if the signal is going like it is.
Yeah. And
I mean, that's how they get you. They just take down the signal.
Yeah, many people have the same problem. I've talked, and it's just at times it's just terrible. We can't pick you up.
And what is that? The AM signal?
It's the AM. Sometimes it's the FM too.
Wow. Well, no one's sorrier than I am. Let's go to Chandler, who joins us now at 580 KIDO.
Good morning, Kevin Miller. It is actually I, Mean Gene Oakland, the voice of the WWF. You're asking about Al from Ontario and what he could add. I think what we need to have is him to do the same outstanding promos we used to see from the great superstars of wrestling. He used to call out the person who he's going up against, make the claim, make the charge, and call for a match. That's what I think. That's the part I think it's missing, is he needs to do those kind of promos, don't you think?
I love the idea of doing promos.
Yeah. So Al, there you go, man. Start watching. Go on YouTube. Start watching them, and they're like 2 minutes or less. They're kind of concise, and I think it'd be great. Call out different people, call different issues. Regarding your question of what happened to people's rights, I'll tell you what happened with people's rights. Those people became activated, and they found their way into other things that already existed. So if you take the case of like Eastern Oregon and Washington, there's a total balkanization and isolation. And so the people's rights movement there is still strong because they're totally shut out of everything. But just like the Tea Party movement, there's the Republican Party, there's other activist groups, and that's where a lot of them are. So the fact that these people came forward to fight for stuff and then continued fighting on with other established organizations and are part of it, it's like fresh blood revitalizing things. Whether they're going to end up getting Tea Partied like everything else, that's kind of what the battle is. You've got a lot of grassroots people come into the Republican Party who actually believe in the core principles of the Republican Party, who are fighting for them, who want to accept the status quo, which is a good, healthy thing. And yeah, you're right. It's kind of tough. You got to be careful with the battles that you pick. But I would also say that part of why our system is working is Ammon Bundy was apolitical. And the fact that he believed enough in our system to step forward and run for governor, and participate and get 17% of the vote for a first-time candidate.
And now he lives in Utah. Okay. Let me put it. You ever heard of a one-hit wonder?
Well,
what about the longevity? What about the long game? Nobody plays the long game. Everybody wants that. Hey, I'm on MSNBC, the pop. Look, I've been on those shows for years, and here I am talking to you. I mean, do you make a big change, or do you just, I think most people, and it's because of social media, they want to become famous. They don't want to become successful. And Mr. Bundy is a man of principle. And look, maybe it was humorous, maybe it was faith, but he beat the government twice. Should have been in jail for the rest of his life, whether you agree with it or not. He didn't. And then when you have those victories without a loss, you go and then finally somebody just jacks you. And that's what happened to him, in my opinion.
Well, Dr. Jeff, Jack Kevorkian in Michigan, same kind of thing, man. And Jeffrey Feigler was a great attorney, one of the best defense attorneys ever. Kept him out. He kept winning. And then the time when he eventually got convicted, it was because Jeffrey Feigler was no longer his attorney. But like regarding your case, Kev, I think we need to do a march. We need to demand justice for Kevin Miller. Organize our KIDO, bring the Miller militia.
Wait a minute. Which case are we talking about here?
Well, you got kicked off the air, man. You were run out by dark forces.
Something. I could sit there and blame everybody. I was a willing participant, and I accept responsibility for my actions. And I was given bad direction, but I'm an adult. Look, Chandler, the brilliance of you and I is we could sit there and litigate everything that we're all victims, but in the end, we're all adults. And what I've noticed around here is there are a lot of people in the media, a lot of people in politics, maybe a lot of people personally, they can dish it out, but they can't take it. I'm willing to throw with people. I'm willing to go. But on the other hand, I have a cost analysis, and there are certain things, there are certain allegations you make, and there are certain allegations you don't make, because in the end, do you want to be a kind, responsible person, or do you want to be a kook?
I'm just saying, you're, as a person in the media, you tell from time to time the story what happened to you in Pittsburgh. I just think that could be a fun way to, boost some ratings.
I think people have lives, and one thing that I've been blessed about in this program is it ain't about me. It's funny, maybe because I'm an old man, Kevin Miller, I see people doing what I used to do, and it's like, okay, I've been there. Yay, go, go, go. And then you're like, okay, then what do you do next? How about help a charity? How about help people that are, in the heat? But I appreciate your passion, sir. I appreciate the compliment.
You're welcome. So the justice thing, look, I really do have issues with our judicial system here in the state of Idaho. And if you look at some of the articles the statesmen have written about failing standards for prisoners, the hunger strike, the people dying, and I think it was somewhere up north, there were people like over 10 years, a bunch of people died, and it wasn't publicly reported because of being in the jail and something happened. And then you had on that guy who he was shepherded around different places here. Like we have the problem I have with what happened to Robert Jones is we have, if you're going to put people in jail, you need to have the infrastructure and the space for them. And the fact that we don't, and we outsource our jailing to other states or paying other states, we're transporting people.
Let me expand on that for a minute, because I'll give you one of my crutch phrases. We're the only ones talking about how bad the jails and the prisons are, and the schools and everything else. Now, I could be like every other bootlicker and fart sniffer in the media, and I could sit there and go, well, we're going to have people on. I'd love people to come on. But then I think to myself, well, why are we raising taxes in Meridian? Okay, why are we raising taxes in Meridian? Why are we raising taxes everywhere? It's the duty to represent the public. But nobody does that, and they do it. They kind of, wink, wink, nod, nod. People are stupid. But, you take a look at the state Department of Education. Tell me, where is the return on investment in that? Oh, we're helping kids. Are you? Or are you going to run for higher office? And the politicians here are very thin-skinned. I'll appear at certain things. They won't talk to me. I won't talk to them, and I'm fine with that, because in the end, they're in their own business. But clearly, the state has a challenge in education, and clearly, the state. I mean, the reporting, as you've noted, the Statesman has done in the past 5 years on prisons, and just that guy that called in that he was on the bus for 8 hours without a bathroom break and everything else. Yeah. That's okay. You do that, you expose it, and unfortunately, Chandler, besides you and me, people go, so what? I'm going to go home and watch the big screen, or I'm getting the RV out and heading out. That's the world we live in, unfortunately.
Well, it's hard to counter that. All I would say, though, is if you want to talk economics, that guy's permanently disabled. So not only did we incarcerate him, but guess what? We're paying for him for the rest of his life because of how he was handled. But
here's another one. I mean, if it bleeds, it leads. Okay, so we have Coburg. And by the way, from what I understand, this show is number one in Ada County. It's number one at the prison. It's the only thing they can get. Unlike Caldwell, they love this show. So, in the old days, I've broadcast from the Canyon County Jail. I've Again, I'm not doing stunts anymore, but, going to the prison, what would that be like? I don't know. And we had Kevin Kemp, who used to work here, great guy, head of the prison system, would always reach out to me. But the only time anybody looked at the prisons is what? When Coburg went to CUNA. And then we have anybody covering us with the death penalty, it's the firing squad, and it's not, hey, we need to do this because we can't get the drugs. It's people in Idaho, they're going to have volunteers, New York Post. So where is the inherent responsibility of someone to, and I'm going to say this, the only people that have the ability to do that is the Statesman, and half the time those are interns funded by government grants or whatever. But to do that in-depth reporting, not about Kratom, but to look at the prison challenge. Okay, we've given ourselves a tax return The cities are raising taxes. They're sticking it to us. They're mad because the state said act responsibly. They said, we need money for the fire. We need money for this. It's the shell game. And then you have the prisons that, why would you stick up for the criminals?
You're asking me? I mean, look.
No. I'm saying that's why there's no coverage of this. Hey, I like this. Look, I don't like paying taxes. And there's a big story that thanks to Trump, we gave too much money back and the state ran out of money for tax returns. What? Look, Chandler, if this were your job and you were doing this, you'd be fired. Here we go. Okay.
With the prison stuff, too, I just think that I just go back to prison radio, Kev. Like, if you ever have to do some serious cost cutting, there's the rodeo they do in Louisiana, and they have, like, the Angola farm where they actually raise their own crew. Like,
what's that called?
There's another idea. Like, what's that?
Yeah, what's that called? Angola. Nobody ever wants to go to Angola, bro. I would not go to Angola.
The rodeo's pretty popular.
Yeah, I would not go to Angola. Chandler, got to run. Thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. 580 KIDO, and thank you, Cowboy Calvin. We were talking about the flock cameras, and, like I said, you're going to have people, just like they did with the Patriot Act. Butch Otter knows all about that. Former governor, great guy, talking about, security versus freedom. And you have residents of Caldwell saying, we want freedom. We want privacy. It always amazes me when people say, what you need to do is you need to do your very best to stop these predators and such. It's crazy. How do you do that? I don't know. Graham Plattner is out. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But there is a real debate, and I urge you to watch the movie. Kill the Messenger. When you go too deep, Gary Webb, God rest his soul, reporter for the San Jose Mercury News. When you go too deep, you get too close. They fight back, and it's not very, very good. Let me tell you about something very, very good. That is our friends. Let's see. At Mazda, before we get to that, we're going to go to our friend Caroline in Midville. I believe, I think I've been to her house, maybe. The people who protested in Burns were not armed, did not take over that place using weapons. Cowboy Calvin is wrong. You should have called them out. Actually, I was there, and they were armed, and I did see them. And I did talk to Lavoy Finicum. I did talk to Ryan Bundy, and we have videos of that. I am so disheartened with your radio program. You have such a wonderful platform, which you do great, good things for patriots and freedom. I realize that your heart is for charities, and you do that well, but politics, not so much. Wow. Politics. You're going to have to expand on that, by the way. Cowboy Calvin is totally right about your station. Every single week, we cannot get your station signal on the AM one day or another. It's awful. Well, I will put that on to the high command. Thank you very much for that one. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I wish I can control that. Carolyn, I appreciate your passion. And look, I was there in Burns. I saw those people. I walked down the hill. Actually, I was an idiot because I had on a hoodie, shorts, and Crocs, which don't do well in the snow. But when you're morbidly obese, you have a lot of built-in insulation. The problem was in Burns, and it cost Mr. Fittingham his life. You can beat somebody once, but when you embarrass the Obama administration and the Trump administration, well, they're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. Peaceful protest, yes, they didn't, whatever, but they were ready to protect themselves. I saw that firsthand. I'm sorry you don't agree with my politics, but I don't, we call it as we see it. Now you've got me stumbling and stammering, which I do too much of. Let's go to President Trump. Actually, we're going to do this. 580-KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Dave Burnett is standing by to get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.
If his name is Mohammed something, and most of them are Mohammed, you can guess about 50% right. We can read his name right on his tag from space. It's the most amazing thing. Anybody that goes near that space, we have it tagged. They haven't done anything there. And if they did, we would hit them very hard. So 2 days ago, in speaking to the Iranians, they told me it was hit so hard. They actually said, I must say, that there's only 2 countries that could get it, us and China.
Right.
They said us and China, that they don't have the capability of getting it because it was so obliterated. The term I used was obliterated. The fake news said, oh, maybe somebody can get it. They actually said if they wanted to get it, they couldn't. So that's not good enough for me. I want to get it.
So why are we where we are? Did you underestimate the pain tolerance that Iran has?
I didn't
for this?
underestimate anything. We hit them.
And there we have the president. Did you know that most Iranians have the first name Muhammad or something? Words to live by. By the way, our friends at Team Mazda want to tell you about Team 250. It's your chance to drive a brand new Mazda or better owned pre-owned vehicle with payments right around $250 a month. Here's a great example. Right now, you can lease a 2026 Mazda 3 for just $250 a month with $3,335 cash or trade down. And because Team gives you up to 130%, that's 130% of book value for your trade, getting that to $250 payment is easier than you think. Go Team 250. Shopping pre-owned instead? Why not? Aaron and Joel will help you find a quality used car, truck, or SUV with a payment that's right around the $250 a month mark. The sweet spot. Yes. We all like the sweet spot. Yes. And no matter what you buy or lease, Team will include a $250 gas card with your purchase. So this month, it's all about Team 250, $250 payments, a $250 gas card, and up to 130% of book value for your trade. Get pre-approved today at GoTeamCredit.com. That's GoTeamCredit.com. There's no impact on your credit score, and you'll instantly see your buying power. Celebrate Team 250 all month long at Team Mazda in the Pre-Owned Superstore on the Boulevard or online at GoTeamMazda.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. So here we have the president talking about the mullahs and everything else. We continue to hit them again and again and again. Coming up next hour, a very, very significant and exclusive special announcement. And Mr. Plattner, he's mad because he got run. He says that he was a victim. Why not just own up to it and say, look, man, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm going to go back to being a crab fisherman. He likes crab, crabbity, crab, and then move on from there. Why not just roll on with that as opposed to blasting the establishment? With all due respect, when someone fails, and I hope this doesn't happen to you, but when you fail, and Chandler brought up me, one of my many times being fired. Sometimes, as someone said, sometimes, Kevin Miller, you got to let it fail. Yeah, but I don't want to fail. Nobody wants to fail, but that's the lessons in life. And sometimes these things happen to us. And we learn by our mistakes, at least the good ones learn. But when a marriage ends, it's never one-sided. Well, they were horrible. Well, you allowed them to treat you that way. Well, can you believe somebody did this to that? Okay, but they made a conscientious decision to take that abuse. Maybe for the good of the community, maybe good for everyone else. I always like it, and I'm not going to be sexist here. So when somebody gets a divorce, and we'll say whether it's a man or a woman, and the first thing they want to do is they go, I want to get a rich such and such to take care of me. And then I'm looking at that person, a man or a woman, and I go, well, what value do you bring? Well, I want an old person, and I'm going to be young, and they're going to like me. And I'm going, well, first of all, you're not that young. Your personality isn't that great. So if I'm acquiring an asset, am I going to get something that is already depreciated in value? And I think that's it's an unrealistic way to look at things. But so many times we're blinded by our own, biases or hubris or what have you. What can you offer? Chandler last hour was talking about, Kevin Miller, you need to do this. How about we send veterans to Washington, D.C.? How about we make sure animal shelters are taken care of? How about we help people that are homeless? That makes a difference. That makes a difference. Not, we have enough of that around here, don't we? We have enough of, And with Mr. Plattner, and I mean, really, what politician has ever done this? What politician has ever said, I made mistakes and I made a bad call at the line of scrimmage by getting a tattoo? I was either complicit or incompetent. You don't have to be the world's greatest philosopher that everything in life comes down to either you were complicit or incompetent. Many mistakes I've made in life, I could say I'm ignorant, but I guess that would be incompetent. It really, there's no rationalization when you look at things as an adult. You were either complicit or incompetent. Maybe you were misled. So, again, Plattner, like a failed marriage, fails to think that, okay, I put a lot of things on social media that aren't going to play in middle-class Maine swing voting households. I have a Nazi tattoo. I swear a lot. I've been trolling social media, trying to pick up allegedly women or saying provocative things. Has anybody offered you a dream position or a dream job? Sometimes I feel it's necessary to protect people from yourself. And many times, someone will say, well, you need this to negotiate. If your present person doesn't value you, you have to make a decision. You either stay in that situation, whether it's personal or professional, or you leave. Everything is a trade-off. Case in point, somebody said to me, hey, Kevin, how about you do this? And, they said, well, are you committed to staying in Boise recently? Now, I could have lied. I could have misled these people because everybody does it. I said, no, my family is here. I am committed to being in Idaho, or at least the Mountain West. This is my priority. I've been very blessed to ask people to welcome me into their cars, their homes, their workouts, whatever. And, you can't sit there and say, I'm working for you, and then pack your bags to the first flight to Phoenix or Indianapolis or Richmond or Boston. Somebody said that to me. You have to stay in one place and do something. And I agree with that. And you go back to Mr. Plattner, and he wanted to run, but he wanted to attack. Well, what are you for? I know what you're against, Susan Collins. And back to the point, somebody one day said, well, look, we want to take you to Washington, D.C. We want you to work in D.C. I know you're bred for that, Kevin Miller. You've always been about politics, maybe more so than radio. Would you consider going to Washington, D.C.? And I said, first off, there are certain people that don't like me, and I would hate for you to be hurt by things that I've said on the radio that are provocative, inflammatory, and some people would take it the wrong way in the politically correct Politburo world that we live in. I wanted to look out for those people. Oh, no, I'm going to do that. I'm fine with that. But Plattner didn't have that sense, maybe because he thought he was going to be a senator. Plattner didn't have that situational awareness that they call it in the workplace, where, okay, I have a Nazi tattoo. I swore and said things on social media. I had some indiscretions, alleged indiscretions. I had some issues in my past. Maybe if he had done a mea culpa, maybe if he had said, I was a bad Plattner, I was drunk, I'm bad, I apologize. But as one of the victims, the alleged victims, said, when he started bagging on people about women, that's when she had to come forward. Now, whether or not that's true or not, I don't know, but you have to say, we're taught that in church. The pastor, the minister, the priest, the rabbi. What is it about? Humility. The Christians, pray for your enemies. I pray for my enemies every night. It is very humbling to do. Catholics have this thing that they call confession. Some of us haven't been in a long time, but to say your sins out loud, maybe Mr. Plattner needs to practice that. Harold Ford Jr., what do you have to say? What? Can't hear you.
Democrats have to understand that for Democrats to be successful this year and 2 years from now, it's her or anybody, we've got to become the party of ideas again. I would take a page out of what people have done over the last 3 or 4 or 5 months. Democrats who've won elections at the state level, the local level, and even some of the federal special races. And I think one of the things you'll find is that they're focused on how to make working Americans' lives better. How do you make groceries and healthcare and housing more affordable? How do you make education more accessible for every American in a time in which AI continues to dominate the stock market, meaning the investing that companies are making, which is driving up asset prices, which is a good thing in some ways. But how do we acclimate and transition today's workers and tomorrow's workers to be able to thrive and flourish in that market? When you begin talking about those things, I think voters will pay attention even more, and they might even, I didn't even understand you were great, and I don't understand what the Kamala HQ thing means. I do know that voters will understand if you explain how you're going to reduce the price of things that they need the most.
More of your thoughts next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Special guest as well. He's not aboard an aircraft carrier. Perhaps he's at the White House. He's the one, the only Jared Halpern joining us from Fox News Radio. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, no, I don't do well on ships, so I'm glad to be on terra firma here.
No, just watching the compelling video of Pamela Brown there on the Abraham Lincoln. Wow.
Yeah. Those are impressive. I've done, when I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, I did a couple of runs on these Navy. I mean, they're like floating cities. They're pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I don't know if I would like landing on one of those.
Would not. No, I've never done that. I don't think the landing, I think, would be better than the takeoff, because don't they kind of like just catapult you like off the...
Yeah.
I don't think I want to do that there, frankly.
Yeah, it comes down to commitment, if you will. The president returns home, although the mode of transportation was an interesting choice.
Yeah, this was a fascinating story, and it's getting some attention because, recall, President Trump was in Turkey, in Ankara, for the NATO summit. Turkey shares a border with Iran. The president traveled to Turkey earlier this week on that new Air Force One, that Qatari gifted Air Force One, the new paint scheme. It's a much more modern aircraft. Then leaving yesterday, he flew the older model Air Force One, the traditional one, to England, and then in England got on the new one and flew that the rest of the way. Now, the president, the White House both indicated that this was just kind of a way for folks in England to see the new Air Force One. Air Force One frequently travels through Mildenhall, and so the idea was, these are folks that are going to be accustomed to this plane. But the president also indicated that there is certainly a emerging threat stream here with the Iranians. He has said repeatedly now over the last couple of days that he is target number one. And when he was asked is this because there was concern that this new plane doesn't have the same air defenses as the old one, he didn't really give a straight answer, but joked with the reporter that, if he goes down, they would go down too. Obviously, one of the concerns, obviously one of the concerns with this Qatari plane from the get-go was, would 10 months be enough time to do all of the security stuff that entails a presidential aircraft? And so, again, raising questions about this threat stream with President Trump, especially given that he was traveling, again, in a part of the world that shares a border with Iran.
I don't know if you caught that in real time. Boy, that was something that the president just was so matter of fact, off the cuff. I mean, you catch him with that all the time. Fairly, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's different. That being said, he's been asked, obviously there's been assassination attempts, and he's been asked about it, and he's like, I don't think about it, and it's because the job I'm doing. So he seems to be, at least when he answers questions publicly, like okay with this idea that his life may be in danger. So, again, we don't get these threat assessments. The Secret Service does not comment on protective measures that it takes. But President Trump was pretty clear that he believes that he is a top target here for Iran. And obviously, in the days before this summit, new airstrikes had been launched.
Jared, what's next for the president this weekend, and now that the war is back on?
Yeah, I think that's the question. With the war back on, kind of what does that look like? Does he continue to send these delegations? And, I think the other thing we're going to be looking at is obviously the markets, right? The last time that this war started, we saw oil prices skyrocket. The president said that was going to be short term. They are starting to go back up again. Does that have an impact? And we'll kind of see now what the next couple of days look like. But certainly this moratorium, this 60-day ceasefire appears to be over.
Jared, we always appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sure thing.
Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We are always happy to give a great announcement. Let's bring on our friend Brandy joining us from Meadow Gold. Brandy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us, Kevin.
Well, let's talk about Meadow Gold and local company doing a great thing. Milk is good. We love milk. So we appreciate you sharing this big announcement with us.
Yeah, so I appreciate you having us. It's a great opportunity for us to get the message out there. But, we hit a major milestone this year with Meadow Gold Dairies. We're celebrating 125 years of freshness, flavor, and community. And one way we're going to bring that in is by giving back to the community on July 15th, starting at noon. Location is 15th and Bannock, but we're going to be bringing in that 125 years by giving out free gallon of milk to those customers, first customers that come by. We're going to give away 125 cases. That's not gallons, but cases. And so, when it's out, it's out. But we're just happy to give back to the community and just thanking them for their support and loyalty throughout the years.
How does Meadow Gold do it? 125 years, obviously giving back, but it's a challenging work. What you all do.
It is, and I'm just thankful that we have a great, loyal, and dedicated team here at Meadow Gold. But again, we always are analyzing the business, trying to operate smarter, not harder, but just to assure that our relevance, remaining relevant in our market. So. It's an ever-changing, fast-paced business, and you got to change with it.
In living in Idaho, you get, Brandy, you get such an appreciation for it because you see whether it's milk, whether it's cheese, all the great products, and again, an Idaho-based company giving back. But again, you're competing against the big boys and the not-so-big boys and your big boys. Can you take us inside that world for a minute?
Yeah, so we're fortunate because again, while I work for Meadow Gold, our owners are Dairy Farmers of America, and I serve I don't have one boss, I have 9,000 farm family owners that that I kind of report to ensure that I'm making the right decisions and doing the right things. But again, at the end of the day, they make it pretty easy for me because their number one priority is generation, turning that farm over to their kids. So while there's a lot of pressure on us, to do the right thing, it's we got the support from those owners and from our team. So again, it's just it's fast paced and you got to be ready to make some moves. But we're just happy that Idaho it's a great community. We've had long support with our consumers. And so again, they make it pretty easy.
So why the 125 cases of free Meadow Gold milk on July 15th beginning at noon?
Well, again, the date, just a given date. We were going to try and do it earlier in the month, but things just didn't line out. But, we figured, 125 years of being in operation, let's give out 125 cases, right? There's 4 gallons to a case, so do the math behind that. But again, we just want to try and give out as much as we can to the community. Some of our other sister plants, Meadow Gold is a Mountain Group a dairy brand. We have locations throughout the Northwest. And so this is something that a lot of our sister plants have done in their locations and had great success with it. So we thought, we would piggyback off it, and it'd be a good way to, good way to celebrate the 125 years giving back.
Well, where else are you guys at? You were talking about throughout the state, but throughout the region, Meadow Gold?
Yeah, so we have two plants one in Great Falls, Montana, another plant in Billings, Montana. We have a plant in Denver, Inglewood, Colorado, a plant in Salt Lake City, and another one in Las Vegas, Nevada. And that makes up the Metagold family.
And your products are in all these states?
Products are in all those states.
Boy, that's
sir.
incredible. Yeah.
Yes,
so again,
sir.
for people, Brandy, just tuning in, let's give away some free milk. When and where? It's next week. We can't say this enough.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Kevin. And again, we're going to be in the parking lot, 15th Avenue, Bannock Street.
Man, I like the Bieber, but dude, Canada, a few miles away. Go back for all this crazy. Anyway, appreciate that story on our website. Idahoan Justin Bieber to sing at the World Cup finale, the halftime show. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Do want to, again, say thanks to the folks at Meadow Gold for coming on. And by the way, that's a news story. They said, we want to make this announcement. We want to give away some free milk. And I hope that that's what we can do. And they're giving back 125 years. I know there's been a lot of talk about the dairy business, and you don't have to go to the Oregon coast to see the big Tillamook cheese factory plant. I can remember Mrs. Miller going, "Hey, do you want to go to the cheese factory?" "No, I'm good." "Yeah, but that's what everybody's." "I'm good." "What do you want to do?" "I just want to stare at the ocean and ponder my existence." "But don't you do that 4 hours a day, every day?" I do, but sometimes I let the voices just roam in my head. But Meadow Gold coming in, and if you missed it, again, we want to thank the folks there, and we'll have that story on our website. Hopefully I won't be scooped by my own scoop. But July 15th at noon on 15th Avenue, Idaho Street and Bannock Street. 15th Avenue between Idaho Street and Bannock Street in downtown Boise. Just look for the Meadow Gold trailers, and they will give you a gallon of milk for free. But they say take it home. Don't leave it in your car. And yesterday was, I'm sure you felt it. And for everyone who's working in the heat, I was listening to ads, people wanting, trying to hire the people that are flaggers. I said flaggers. And whether you're the workers or the flaggers or the people working overnight, like the zombie squads, it's tough. It's hot at night. It's hot during the day. So take care of yourself. So I went and got some supplements, went and got my subscriptions that I call prescriptions, or prescriptions that I call subscriptions. You know what I'm saying? And I kept my stuff out of the heat, but it was so hot, my little capsules were, radiating. So I put them out on the counter just to cool them off. That's how hot it was, and that's how it's getting. Speaking of hot, here is Linda McMahon talking about the waste, fraud, and abuse in the Department of Education that we all have been ignoring, led by the lamestream media.
Linda McMahon joins me now, the very perfect person to talk to about this. Madam Secretary, what was the money in this scheme being used for if it wasn't for students and education?
Well, we're just beginning now to really look into the fraud that you're referencing, the K through 12 schools. We've been focusing quite a bit of our fraud detection, if you will, in higher education, at the moment. And we have, through our student loan program, the FAFSA program, we have actually identified and prevented now over $2 billion in fraud. So I'm very pleased that we've been able to do that. And now we're looking more at the K through 12 issues that you were raising, and I can assure you that we will be following through with our departments to see where this money has been going. If fraudsters are just seemingly trying to pick the pocket of American taxpayers everywhere we turn. So it's
that's a very good point by the Secretary of Education, who wants to eliminate the Department of Education. And we're a few years off. We're still talking about the midterms, but the post-Trump era could be the most turbulent political era that we've had in quite some time. You're going to go, Kevin, do you cover talk radio every day? Do you actually listen when people are talking to you? What we need is somebody like Mitt Romney or Barack Obama or somebody to mellow us out. The grand disruptor of that President Trump has given us. Think about this for a moment. The president will continue to determine the fate of the Republican Party. He'll decide if it's Marco, JD, or whatever. The libs, whether you want to go Harry Potter, whether you want to go Star Wars, whether you want to go superheroes, the villains are going to strike back. The loons. They're not going to let people get away with this. The redistricting and everything else. Imagine the leftist backlash if you get AOC in there, or even gallivanting Gavin. And if the Republican Party loses, does the establishment come over and wipe out the Trumpers and make sure that there's never, ever, 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 ever any type of open rebellion again? So the president has steered us in this populist direction, the chaos theory, if you will. Think of all the great work that he's done that has not gotten covered. Linda McMahon finding for waste, fraud, and abuse. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Imagine if this were Joe Biden talking about Trump or Obama talking about Bush. By the way, still one of the most popular politicians in the state of Idaho, even though he lives in Utah. Our man, the Mittster. Mitt, what up?
Geopolitical mistakes in our history, and I consider Vietnam one of those, and I think clearly how we exercised our power in Afghanistan and in Iraq, it didn't work out the way we wanted to. But I think nations recognized, and people around the world recognized, we did what we thought was right. We happened to be making some mistakes and misunderstood what was going on in some respects, but we always acted out a sense of what we believed was the right thing to do. And I think it's important for us to continue to have that as the test of our military or other actions around the world. We will do what we believe is the right thing. And I think that is one of the things that has led us to have friends around the world. Someone has pointed out that what has allowed us, if you will, to be so successful as a economic and military entity is that whereas Russia and China have perhaps military might, they don't have the friends that we have. You know, we have over 100 nations that are friends. And that gives us economic might, geopolitical might, and in some cases in our history, military might. So being a good people, I believe, is essential to America's capacity to enjoy the great economic and geopolitical riches that we enjoy.
Yeah, there we have it. Deseret Voices. You can check out that full episode on YouTube. You know, Mitt Romney, interesting cat. Remember when Mitt thought that Donald Trump was, a big threat, and he acquiesced and had Jeb Bush run. And I thought Jeb was going to win in 2016. Well, low energy Jeb got run. And remember, like, Mitt Romney came out, and you've seen this against now Attorney General Raul Labrador, where you'd have prominent Republicans saying how bad he is, and they don't agree with him. They did the same thing. Mitt did the same thing to President Trump. And it backfired, and then Mitt Romney wanted to be Secretary of State. And Trump enjoyed, making Mitt bend the knee. But I always go back to that 2012 race where Mitt Romney did what Republicans usually do. And, yeah, that was Newt Gingrich that Steve Yates was supporting. Thank you, Sweet William. But that Mitt Romney spent more time attacking Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich, and others than Barack Obama. I have often said, and I will often believe, that if Mitt Romney had done to Obama what he did to Gingrich, Santorum, and others, he would have been the president. Maybe he didn't want to be the president. I don't know. But I thought that Romney really had something. And he was, again, the state is, maybe it's not the same anymore, but they used to poll the most popular politicians in Idaho. It was, in no particular order, Butch Otter, Donald Trump, and Mitt Romney. Could you get them in a room to agree on anything? Kevin Miller on your home for Fox News, 580 KIDO. All these things. Now that's not nice. It's not nice. Got to get the clicks. Speaking of clicks, we're looking at our targets now that we're blowing up the Iranians. Sweet William, can you get that Bomb Bomb Iran song ready to go? We're hitting their air defense systems, their coastal surveillance assets, missile and drone storage sites, naval capabilities, and the military infrastructure. And I think we're starting to blow up bridges. It's so bad that apparently the Iranians cannot hold the burial of the grand leader, the great leader, the leader. So to be continued. On the domestic front, well, here we have John Fetterman, who will probably be run out of office.
The same cannot be said about the leaders of your party.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like what Democrats, saw in that trash bag? What did they see in this guy? Was it the Nazi tattoo? Was the gross messages online? The way he roughs up women? And now, what's why did you go in on this dirtbag? But yeah, it's like, this is your legacy, P. Hustle, and now adios, trash bag.
Wow, there we have it. Fetterman unloading on people. And will John Fetterman become a Republican? I remember when everybody was bagging on Fetterman, including Clay and Buck, probably Sean, and I go, that cat is different. I said, that guy is very, very different. Wouldn't it be nice if there were more politicians that did this? But, here we have Plattner, and I don't know if he swears, so we won't go to it, saying he's blasting the media and the Democratic Party establishment for acting like judge, jury, and executioner. Yeah, Plattner. And these same people were the ones that got you out of, nowhere, from obscurity when you were the crab guy and you were playing with the crabs or whatever you're doing on the boat. Shout out to Captain Harry, a clam fisherman, I guess. And then he's sitting there, the media creates people. The Democratic Party, picked you, and they picked the wrong guy at the line of scrimmage. But what do you teach children? What do you teach grandchildren? And I know it's so easier said than done, and I'm going through this myself. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And then when you go, hey, man, the going is tough. This is tough. Yes. And certainly for the Democrats and Mr. Plattner and everybody else, it's something that you have to take responsibility for. And it's really found in the online world that we live in today, where everybody is Captain Outrageous until they don't understand the consequences of what they do and say online or in the bedroom or wherever.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank all of you. And keep fighting. We're going to win someday.
Well, they won't be winning with you, Platt.
Well, that was Graham Plattner officially announcing that he is dropping off of the ballot for Maine Senate, for federal Senate from Maine, but taking zero responsibility for any of the scandals and more troubling things in his past that have destroyed that campaign, instead blaming, corporate media, the political establishment, lots of hate for the political establishment, saying that we banded together, we did it the way we were told we were supposed to make change, and we won, and now they are not going to let us have it. So lots of finger pointing and blame and not taking any responsibility. Note that whoever he conceives of as the political establishment, you do have many of his once allies, including Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna, also calling for him to drop out. People who believe many of the same policy ideas that Graham Plattner himself says that he was taken down for. He also said during that 10-minute video that all we were asking for was health care, was to end the genocide, to use our taxpayer dollars at home to uplift our communities instead of waging war overseas. We were asking for a fair system. We are asking for an end to the corruption. So lots of allegations that he was being taken out by nefarious forces that are forcing him to suspend his campaign rather than the drip, drip, drip of scandal after scandal that has dogged his campaign and that have littered the last few months with red flags.
So there we have it, the libs turning on Plattner. Remember, these are the same people that said, whoa, Donald Trump did this, Donald Trump did that. We're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about a man who made a lot of mistakes. And oh, by the way, with all due respect, why don't we own up to it when we make a mistake? The Bible teaches us that. Good people teach us that. You know, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, he really said the Waltons? Yes, John Boy and Dad and Granddad and Granny and all those people, those were the lessons. You know, Andy Griffith, what made America great. And I urge you to go check those stories out and check out those people and learning values. Mr. Plattner was not suited. Maybe Mr. Plattner is actually the reverse Bill Clinton. Remember when Clinton came to office and he had a lot of personal baggage? Some say he still does. I can remember being a baby host going, look, if you're a personal scoundrel, you're going to be a professional scoundrel. You're going to be a professional scoundrel. And if you're a professional scoundrel, then the bottom line here is, and you vote for that person, you knew what they were. They're a snake. They're a snake. So who do you blame? Well, you blame the people that elected the snake. By the way, speaking of something we're all bracing for from the Idaho Capital Sun, transgendered Idahoans are facing challenges following the implementation of the state's transgendered bathroom ban. Trans Affirm, a nonprofit group, created an online map of inclusive bathrooms across Idaho to help trans and gender diverse individuals find safe facilities. Well, two topics that have nothing to do with each other, safe bathrooms and exploding diarrhea. What? Tell you about it next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Meadow Gold for and celebrate 125 years of service. Thank you, Meadow Gold. Again, like I said, I love this story. Now, to go to something entirely different. We were talking about the move here by some folks to find safe bathrooms. And it's by this group called the Trans Affirm people. A nonprofit created an online map because, what is it, next week or this week, the bathroom thing came into effect. Now, the judge has said he blocked parts of it, which would allow transgendered people to use single-user restrooms that align with their gender identity. By the way, don't most restrooms, when the new ones are like flip a coin? You know, sometimes I feel like a nut, sometimes I don't. I mean, they're not. I found new facilities, they don't have, you know, massive stalls or anything. It's just like one room, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, the law imposes criminal charges for entering bathrooms designated for the opposite sex. The ACLU challenging its enforcement, but they don't really challenge anything else. The ban is also part of anti-trans laws in Idaho. Wow. And prompting some to consider leaving the state. Oh, come on, man. Come on now. You're going to leave the state over a bathroom. Now, that is, you talk about someone who's committed to proper plumbing. If you're going to leave the state over a bathroom bill. But something that we haven't talked about, the cases across the country of exploding diarrhea. Now, I want to go back to what we've been talking about. So, Oh, my gosh. So here's something, and I'm not joking. It's not a joke. There's like this thing where it's a serious illness. It's cyclosporitis or whatever they call it. It's called exploding diarrhea. Now, with respect to the people where they're talking about the trans group and everybody else, where they're talking about safe bathrooms, as a former cleaner, maintenance worker, I can tell you about going into dangerous bathrooms. I can tell you about you go into a bathroom and what those people have done in that bathroom. They should be prosecuted. They should be prosecuted again and again and again for what they've done to those bathrooms. And it's amazing the resilience of porcelain. It's amazing the resilience of so many cleaning products. But when I think of a safe bathroom, I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about, not to go cleanser on you, but those things need a big cleanse. So here we have something that's impacting Taco Bell. Taco Bell residents are pulling fresh ingredients from the menu as a fast-growing parasite outbreak linked to explosive diarrhea spreads across multiple states. Now, apparently, they're currently unable to sell lettuce, cilantro, onion, pico de gallo, and guacamole due to the national recall, apparently. This is big, man. And like I said, you want to make sure that you have a safe bathroom. And sometimes you got to make sure that you're safe. You go into a place and it's not safe because somebody didn't clean it. And it's frustrating when you go into a restaurant and they say, oh, we cleaned the bathroom and we didn't. So you want to avoid the exploding diarrhea. I think we need to make bathrooms safe for everyone, right? Thankfully, at least for us, the big cases of the exploding diarrhea. And look, I, again, don't want to get too colonic with you, but nobody likes the diarrhea, right? Nobody likes that. Anyway, Michigan, number 1, New York, number 2, Ohio, number 3, North Carolina, the good Carolina, number 4, Illinois, the top 5. Thankfully, it hasn't come to the West. Colorado and Texas are the only states west of the Great River. Louisiana, ain't looking good for them either. However, I don't know how you pronounce it. Maybe we'll get a TV report on this. This is nothing to joke about. So, like I said, we want to make sure that bathrooms are safe for everyone. And please don't leave Idaho for this whole thing, right? Because, you're unhappy with bathrooms. Idaho is very, 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 very wonderful place to live. And I guess we'll continue to litigate bathrooms, but I'd like to make bathrooms safe for everyone, wouldn't you? On a more serious note, here we have Britt Hume talking about the continued escalations with our own John Roberts on Fox News 580 KIDO. Why are we attacking Iran again, Britt?
The president has now reached his moment of truth on Iran, which is simply this. This is not a regime with whom you can make a deal and expect them to adhere to it, even if there are elements of that regime that would like to make a deal. I think the president hoped that, first of all, after the initial attack, which seemed to be so successful, that Iran might come to terms. They did not, so he hit them ever harder. Finally, there were negotiations, as we've been watching, which have absolutely gone nowhere when you get down to it. And now you have these attacks, overnight attacks by the Iranians yesterday on ships in the channel, which violates everything that's going, violates the memorandum of understanding, violates the ceasefire, and so on. And I think what we heard the president today suggests that he now recognizes that any kind of an enforceable deal is probably impossible, and he's going to have to deal with what remains there himself.
So the president again raised the specter today of potentially taking control of Karg Island, which is the main oil loading facility off the coast of Iran. Here's what the president said at the NATO summit.
We attacked Karg Island last night. We knocked out a piece. I said, don't touch the oil, because maybe we'll take over Karg Island. We may take over Karg Island. There's not a thing they can do about it.
What's interesting to me is I saw a report that a IRGC barracks in nearby Bushehr, which would probably be the biggest point of potential reinforcement for Iranian forces, was on fire. Does this portend potentially a move against Kharg Island?
Well, I think there are a number of options here, Kharg Island being one of them, John. We could attempt to open the strait by force, which would be something I think we're militarily capable of doing, but it would risk casualties. It would risk loss of naval assets, perhaps. We could reimpose the blockade against Iran only, allowing other ships to go through. I don't think the president wants to have to do any of these things, but he's now in a situation where his hope for negotiation or successful negotiation seems off the table now, and he's got options ahead of him, all of which are risky. Not to mention the fact, John, as a political matter, that he is saying at the same time that this is all about preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, but when the subject comes up, and as it did again today several times, he keeps talking about the nuclear dust, which is the remnants of Iran's nuclear program, being out of reach for everybody but the United States. So that would appear to suggest that the mission, the number one job in this whole mission, is already accomplished. But I don't think he can walk away from it now. So he's got some decisions to make, not any of them easy.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of where they go with this memorandum of understanding, they can't even get a deal on the Strait of Hormuz settled, let alone Iran's nuclear program. But we'll see where it goes after this evening. Brett, always good to catch up with you. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, great point there. President has no choice. 580 KIDO. President has no choice. You know, it's so funny. And what do the loons do? They're going to criticize him. The unnecessary war. Could you imagine if the Iranians had attacked us? Even more so than they already have. Could you imagine what that would mean and how they would blame President Trump? Can you imagine that? Well, Obama did this, Obama did that. They don't tell the truth. I wish that they would tell the truth, like we've told the truth about safe bathrooms. We want to make bathrooms safe for everyone, including people with exploding diarrhea. We don't want people to have exploding diarrhea. And that's the real, I mean, what do? You wash your fruit, you wash your vegetables, and you want to make sure that you don't get the exploding diarrhea parasite. That is nothing to mess around with. And I don't even know if the cleanser can help you once you get the exploding diarrhea. 580 KIDO. So before we get back to getting ourselves in trouble by talking about too much exploding diarrhea, let's go to what we can expect. Are there any sane people left in Tehran? Most likely not. Are there any sane people left in that region? Most likely not. They've left the president no choice. They have left the president no choice. So now we begin the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning. Is it going to be worth it? I pray so. I pray that it's worth it. I pray that it's worth any loss of life, Politically, the president has stemmed the Democratic criticism of him. And truly, if there is one person that is set up to make this decision, it is Donald John Trump. Kevin, all you do is carry water for the guy. Not really. The president doesn't care about the midterms because he's not running again. Will the Democrats investigate him if we lose the House? Yes, it won't be pretty. But when someone threatens your life, if your life has ever been threatened, if your livelihood has ever been threatened, if anyone, I mean, there are certain ways you react to it. You either bend the knee or you fight back. And there's no partial, ask any roofer, there is no partial way to replace a roof. Once you go till you get the new roof on. Like the windows here at my house at windowworldboise.com. Once those windows go, you get them done and you take care of it, right? You take care of it. And when we think of taking care of things, we want to make sure we talk about our great friends at Treasure Valley Subaru. They take care of you again and again and again. Outstanding service, Excellent numbers. And when you're looking at numbers, what about a zero? Do you want to be a zero? Yes, we're talking about 0% financing, and that's exactly what you'll find this month at Treasure Valley Subaru on just about every new Subaru model. That includes, and we've driven this thing, the redesigned 2026 Subaru Outback with 0% financing for up to 75 months. You'll also find 0% on Subaru Forester, Crosstrek, and the 3-row family-friendly Subaru Ascent. While you're there, don't settle for an ordinary test drive. Treasure Valley Subaru is the only dealership around with the ultimate off-road test drive experience. Their exclusive off-road test track lets you experience Subaru capabilities in a way you simply can't find anywhere else in the state of Idaho. And if you're a truck person, what about this? Don't overpay for a new one when you can buy a like-new truck for half the price of a brand-new truck. Where? At Treasure Valley Trucks. Where's Treasure Valley Trucks? At Treasure Valley Subaru on this huge giant lot. Huge. Need a truck for work? Need a truck to tow the boat or the trailer? Need a truck just to be cool? You'll find F-150s, Tacomas, Rams, GMCs, Silverados, and many more at Treasure Valley Trucks. Here we have it. Treasure Valley Subaru, the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore, Treasure Valley Trucks, and the Treasure Valley Service Center, hosted by Ben, Juan, and Brandon, and Kevin, the gang, all there. Incredible work. They do a great job. All together at the Idaho Center Automall and online at TreasureValleySubaru.com. Well, we so appreciate you listening. Check out our friends at Meadow Gold. They're going to be giving away free milk July 15th at noon. Where is it? On Bannock and Idaho Street. And this is the time we say goodbye, farewell. We hope to see you and hear from you in a week or so. We will be back, we hope, but if something should happen to you or to me, I love you, I appreciate you, and I always say this, it's nothing to read into. But as we've lost so many people, Mr. Hogebaum, Mr. Gebert, Ms. Palgrim, so many others that have just gently been taken from us through the night to go back to our Lord and Heavenly Savior, Jesus Christ. This is goodbye. It's been a privilege. God bless. Keep the faith. And thank you very much for listening. And I love you very much.